speaking?
Who's here?
Good evening. We apologize for our lateness, but we had a lot of things going on in closed session. And we'll start first with roll call, please.
Cervantes. Here. Kaufman Gomez.
Present.
Dutra.
Present.
Garcia. Here. Hernandez.
Here.
Hurst.
Here.
Bilisich.
Present. Thank you. And if you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's start with oral communications from the public, please. Anyone that would like to address us on items that are not on the agenda, please feel free to step forward.
Before we start, also we have the translation equipment that's right over here on the table. You put it on channel 0 and put it around your neck. Para usar el aparato de traducir en español, obtenga el aparato en la mesa acá junto de la caseta de traducir. Préndelo al canal 0. Cuélgaselo en su cuello, enfrente, así fuera. Si no puede oír, revise el aparato que esté encendido sin obstrucciones. Solo funciona dentro de la Cámara de Concilio.
Thank you. And if you would state your name and please address us.
Thank you. I am Daniel Camacho, and I'm a local solar contractor here in Santa Cruz County. And I have a packet for whoever needs to look at it. You can grab it later. There you go. So I'm here representing HERO, which is a PACE program that finances energy efficiency. I don't have this memorized, so I'm going to go ahead and read it off because I typed it out. I'm currently a HERO registered contractor, and we have been very successful in providing energy efficiency solutions to homeowners and communities that have adopted HERO. We have also been able to expand in those communities by hiring locally. We would like to have the opportunity to do the same in this wonderful community. We are here today to ask you to approve the adoption of the HERO program. Not only will you be providing a voluntary financing option to your constituents, which we all know is good public policy, you will also enable local economic stimulus in the form of job creation and generate a lot more revenue for the city because HERO registered contractors pull in a lot more permits in jurisdictions that have adopted HERO. And it's a PACE financing program that is financing solar systems, HVAC, new windows, roofing, through the property taxes. And so everybody wins when you go with a PACE program. And HERO, in my experience, being a solar contractor, is the best one out there. So.
Thank you. If you would just give the information and we'll take it from there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other members from the public that would like to address us, feel free to come up to the microphone. Seeing none, we'll go back to council for public comment. Councilmember Hurst.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I know everyone's here to hear about violence this evening, but I was also glad to hear the speaker about solar power and alternative energy and insulation and windows and all of those things. And in fact, you know, there's lots of opportunities for us to save money and to do conservation efforts. I see in the disbursements that there's, I didn't see a toilet rebate in the disbursements this time, and that worries me because I know that there's toilets out there that are still high flow toilets that need to be replaced. And so that's a free deal. You can get a free toilet I think you can get up to 3 per household. I would encourage people to check the volume of their toilet, and if they haven't had a new toilet recently, here's a chance to get one, along with some free shower heads and some water-saving conservation devices. So check with our City Public Works to see if you might, and there's really not a qualification on that, you just have to need it. A couple of questions that I had that arose out of our last meeting is, has the charter audio been fixed? Is that still in progress? I haven't heard any more from the community if they're not getting the sound. I know that there's still a time delay for the council, and I suppose it probably always will be with the switching of analog to digital.
The charter did replace a piece of equipment that has fixed the sound problem. So they came in and they actually replaced it.
Well, if there's anybody out there in TV land that can't hear me tonight, make sure you send me an email so I will know that the issue has been resolved.
Well, if they can't hear you.
If they can't hear me, that's the trick question. There are some things that aren't trick questions in the community, though. Traffic issues is one of them, and as everybody's observed who goes out on the road, there are some very tight spots out there, particularly in the mornings and afternoons. And I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know. The freedom to Carnation on Green Valley is pretty dangerous and pretty choked, and a lot of people are trying to make left turns there, and it gets congested, and the bike lanes are pretty obscured with parked vehicles. Airport to home has been a real big issue that Council Member Kaufman Gomez and I see firsthand on a number of occasions, and it's dangerous for the public too. So the public needs to be careful while they're out there. And then there's the constant choke up going to Pajaro Valley High School and the West Ridge Business Park every morning, and today it was especially difficult to negotiate. So those are the only things that I wanted to say, but don't forget about your free toilet that's just waiting for you to call. Duty calls, answer it.
Other comments? Councilmember Garcia.
One of the things I found when I was going door-to-door campaigning for my election was that I would talk to voters who, one, didn't know what district they lived in, and two, sometimes didn't even know who their elected representative to the city council was. I mentioned this to Deputy City Clerk Irwin, and within hours, Irwin, now if you go online and to the website, next to our pictures, you'll find a link that will take you to your district. So it's small, but you can enlarge it so you can see the major streets in your district. And so you'll know what district you're in and who your representative is to the city council. So I just want to say thank you to Irwin, our deputy city clerk, for doing this immediately.
Thank you. Councilmember Dutra.
Hello. Just have a few things to say. When I was this past weekend, I attended the memorial for Christian at the church on East Lake, and I thought it was very beautiful. I think the family at Youth Now did a great job in remembering this young man who came from Honduras, who basically walked through 4 countries, and to escape the violence in Honduras, only to be killed in our country. And it was very sad. And I want to thank you now for doing that for him, especially since you don't have any family here. And I truly appreciate that, for what you do for our community. Thank you. Secondly, a couple things. I know that I was dealing with an issue yesterday regarding the Ohlone Parkway, the traffic is jammed when Second Harvest is distributing their food from people driving and just stopping in the middle of the roads. I have contacted both the police department at their traffic division and as well as the city and the director for Second Harvest, and we will be getting together to try to work out something that will be feasible for everybody, the Second Harvest, as well as the people who live in that district. So I will work very hard to find a solution for that, since I know that this has been going on for some time, and people who live in the neighborhood have been frustrated for some time, from what I understand. So I will be dealing with that as well. And the final thing is, we are going to be having a cell phone. I'm calling it a forum, but they're put to a proposal for the tower on the 28th of January here in next door. So it will be explained if you want to learn more about cell towers and the issues. I know that there is a proposed cell tower that would be going in District 2, which also borders my district, which is a big concern for the people that live behind Target. I invite you all to attend that, and hopefully afterwards, if you have questions in regard to cell towers, I will be there, as well as my planning commissioner and the people who are speaking about the cell towers and what the functions. So you can find probably more information online eventually if it's not already there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kaufman Gomez.
Yes, just go on down the list here.
Yes, down the row.
I do have my notes. Hopefully I can keep it within a short period of time. The Pajaro Valley Arts Council had an exhibit, had their open house about takeaway arts exhibit. I wanted to be able to share that with you because it was quite successful. Local artisans, local area right next door to the YMCA. And I encourage those of you that are in the community to go take a look at what our local artisans are doing and have affordable pieces there on display that are for sale. We're about a mid-year fiscal year, or halfway through this particular fiscal year, and I'm sending some requests out, and I believe the departments are rectifying what their current balances are in regarding what they're doing with their budget to make sure that we're holding everybody accountable department-wise on fiscally responsible of what they've told us our budget was that we've approved as council. So we'll be seeing some of those items come up. Anything that is a little bit pushing what their budget is, we should hear a little bit more about that. I would also like to say farewell to our city manager, Carlos Palacios, which will also have a little token of time for him as well. I'd also like to say a farewell to a well-respected member of our community, Carlos Rico. He was one of those that was instrumental in Let the People Vote, recently passed away here, so I just want to provide those condolences to his family. And I'd like to see if the city staff can help clarify the consistency and protocol for public invitations to council. If one is invited, we're all invited if it's a public thing, and we all need to be told at in the same format, because oftentimes there's things that are invited to council that some of us hear about and some of us don't. I just need to make sure what our policy and procedure is and that we're following it or implementing one so that we're all getting the same notices about where people want the council members for public events. I'd also want to make sure, in keeping up with fiscal responsibility, I would like to have a report to reflect what my council expenditures are for the budget that I have to date, and to make sure that the public is aware of what my expenses are for those services and events that I've participated in on behalf of the city, so that I too am held accountable for my budget for expenditures and be able to make that publicly out there for anybody to question. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Cervantes.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify very quickly what Councilmember Dutra mentioned. It would be the impact on District 1 and District 4, because District 2, I'm sorry. Yeah, just making sure I don't get all those calls about the cell tower. Send them to the appropriate council member. So I also just wanted to thank everyone that came out to our first community fun run of the year. It was over at the River Levee by Salsipuedes Creek. We have a couple of folks that are here that participated in that run and are helping us organize the next one for the weekend of January 24th. And we did discuss some issues around public safety. Some people hadn't been to to the levee in a number of years because they were concerned about, who hung out there, what did it look like, and was there enough lighting when it started to, the sun began to set. So it was really important for us to go out there. We went out there as a group, and we also saw some significant improvements that were out there. And at the same time, it offered us an opportunity to connect with one another. I got to meet a number of new faces here, returning college students from the University of Santa Barbara, like Lily, who's in our audience with us this evening. So I just felt like it was a great opportunity to connect as neighbors, but also to underscore the safety of our community, the improvements that have been made. It is a community asset to get out there and to be used, and so we encourage that for people to go out there, and the sites are amazing from there. I also had the opportunity to go out with our post-incident team around the Callahan neighborhood. That's again another city resource that's amazing and relies on a lot of volunteers. It's a partnership between the Watsonville Police Department and our Neighborhood Services Department. And it's just so vital when any neighborhood encounters any kind of tragic event, some of the trauma around that, and having the opportunity for people to go door to door, have the opportunity to check in with neighbors, gauge how they're feeling about public safety in their immediate neighborhood, but also throughout the city of Watsonville. There's a sharing of information, a sharing of resources. We get to provide them a ton of information about what the city has to offer. And at the same time, we also get to hear about what continuing concerns are so that we can address them and more readily direct the proper resources to address those concerns. So I want to thank, Emmanuel Ballesteros and Maria Godinez, part of Neighborhood Services, and also, of course, Master Officer Alex Rodriguez, who were present and allowed me to join the team that went out that evening.
Thank you. Councilmember Hernandez.
I'll keep it really short, but, I just want to say, that we really do have a great community here in Watsonville. I wasn't able to make it to some of the events during the weekend, but I'm really proud of our community that always comes together when there's violence or tragedy in the community, from the different groups that are out here, from Peace and Unity Committee to the Youth Now, First Christian Church, our community organizations as well, PVPSA, CAB. But I really want to say it's you guys that make this community, so I want to thank you guys,
I want to thank all the people that are here tonight. This is a large audience again, and it shows your commitment to our community. And I know that our number one topic is violence, and I know that that's one of the things that you're here for, so appreciate you being here. I too want to offer my condolences to Carlos Rico and his family. He was involved in many, many different political, so many different things. Let the People Vote was one, but he also was on the Pajaro Valley Unified School District Board of Trustees and numerous committees over the years, and we appreciate his service and are very sad about his passing. I also want to thank Parks and Community Services because, we had a windstorm. And when we had the windstorm, we had things that fell everywhere. A-Tree Park, we had calls about A-Tree Park. What are you going to do about those bushes? And then there was a tree at Joyce and McKenzie that went down, a big tree. And I have to say that Park Services was out there doing it, and what they couldn't do, they had a tree service come in. So appreciate all of your efforts. Thank you very much. And then, of course, yesterday, we had a special reception here at the city for our city manager, Carlos Palacios, and it was awesome. There were a lot of people that came in, a lot of people that addressed the crowd, and it was a nice event to attend. So that concludes my remarks, and let's move on to closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. We had two items in closed session this evening. First, the council met with its labor negotiator and received a report but took no action. Second was the personnel matter, the public appointment of the city manager pro tem. And in closed session tonight, the city council appointed Assistant City Manager Marcela Tavances to serve as city manager pro tem after City Manager Carlos Palacios leaves. The vote was 7-0.
Very good. Thank you. And now comes the fun part of the meeting. It's my honor and my privilege to present a special award to Carlos Palacios. You know, many things. Carlos has been here 22 years, and during that time, this building, for one thing, look at the council chambers. We have state-of-the-art council chambers here. And we have a court system that is to die for, and then a wonderful library. We have so many things that we are proud of, and I'm sure he's proud of. He starts at the county on January 19th. And, you know, we also have the water plant, the water treatment plant. So many things have happened while he was here. The sluice system. So it is with great appreciation that I present this award to you. Before Carlos speaks, let's have council members that would like to speak. Keep it short, but do have an opportunity to speak. So, Councilmember Garcia.
I've been working with Carlos only for a month as a city council person, but I've been working with Carlos for many, many years as a community member. And I wanted to say that as a community member, whenever I had a concern, a question, or just comments, I would contact Carlos, and Carlos would immediately respond to me, often inviting me to his office. Beautiful, beautiful view, but often inviting me to his office, taking time out from his busy schedule just to answer my questions or listen to my concerns. So I heard a lot last night about how he worked with the employees and staff here, but he also worked very closely with the community, and I just wanted to share that. So thank you, Carlos.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Councilmember Hurst?
Thank you, Mayor. We're really lucky to have had 22 years of service from Carlos Palacios. I remember when he first came to the city, and he worked as a junior finance guy and worked his way up and proved his mettle. And when Steve Solomon hired him, and I got to work with three very different city managers and a whole bunch of interims and deputies as well. And so I really grew to appreciate the hard work and community involvement that Carlos displayed and continues to display. And I know that we'll have a friend up there on Ocean Avenue, and of course we need one, that is going to help out the city through the county in whatever way can take place. And so we're really indebted for your years of service, an outstanding career, and a real long run, and I know that he's got another 10 or 15 or 20 years there in the tank, too. So good luck and our best, and thank you very, very much.
Other comments?
Yes, well, I think all of us know Carlos Palacios in different capacities. I, too, have been very pleased to work with him as a council member for the last couple years here. But he's also a civic duty in terms of a Rotarian here in town, so, you know, the other club being Watsonville, of course. So I'm sure that our rival will still continue if we see him come before any of our clubs in our county here. And hopefully he'll be able to still maintain that presence. And again, encouragement of what's going on in the south end that the north end needs to be aware of as the little sister, I guess, to this whole county situation between one city to the other. So hopefully we can connect the dots a little bit better. And I really congratulate you for all of the service and work that you've done, and give you my best wishes for your new role up at the north end of this county here. So congratulations.
I also wanted to thank you for your many years of service here to the community, and also your love and dedication for the city of Watsonville. It was obvious to see it. And one thing that I admired most, which I also tried to emulate in my own public service, is just staying above the political fray and staying focused on the issues. It isn't always easy not to get rattled, but you have demonstrated your ability to do that remarkably well, considering all the stresses attached to the job. So we're definitely going to miss your even-handedness on a lot of the various discussions, conversations, and definitely guidance around direction of our city growth. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I also want to thank Carlos Palacios. I've known him since, when was it? 1998. 1998, that's almost 17 years ago. I came in as a intern from UCSC. I was doing my senior thesis on cities and planning departments, and put a big responsibility on me there then at that time with the planning department, and I've known him since then. He's always a good person. He's always been one of the, every time I go to the League of Cities conferences, different city managers, when they find out I'm from Watsonville, they say that they've tried to recruit him and that they've, trying to take him away from us and offering him jobs. And, that they always say that we have one of the best and brightest city managers in the state of California. And I always concur with him. I always have to concur with him. So, I just want to say we're going to really miss you. We're going to miss all the advice that we have. But I know you'll be just right there around in Santa Cruz, and we will call you once in a while. Pick your brain a little bit. Thank you.
Anyone else? Jimmy, go ahead.
I too, like Becky, Rebecca, Councilwoman Rebecca Garcia, have only been working with Carlos for a month, but quite a charismatic guy and really knows how to interact with people and brings a lot of knowledge of the city, and that's been quite impressive. So even in the last month, it's only been a month, I was quite impressed with your knowledge for the city, and there's going to be the bar has been set high. So when we're going to be looking for somebody, we need somebody to make sure that it's going to be able to reach it, and that's going to be our task.
I think now's the time to give Carlos a round of applause. And as you can see, we had a standing ovation. That tells you how much everyone appreciates Carlos' leadership and your dedication to Watsonville. So, Carlos, you want to address us?
I want to thank the City Council for allowing me to serve as the city manager of this wonderful and beautiful city. It's amazing to me how hard these council members work. People don't understand they don't get paid. They get a very small stipend, and they work tremendous amounts of hours, and they get a lot of abuse from people, and they serve as volunteers. So I thank all the council members I've worked with all these years, and for your dedicated public service. Truly, at this level, it is truly public service. I thank all the city staff who for so many years have achieved so much during these years. Our SLU trails, as we mentioned, our neighborhood services program, our police and fire departments, our public works, planning, they've all done, our library, our beautiful library, they all do wonderful, wonderful work. And if you look at our achievements that we've had in this city, we have achieved an amazing amount of things. And our SLU trails are amazing. Our science workshop is amazing. Our library is the best library in the region right now. And so our city staff is just a tremendous city staff, and I want to thank them for all of their hard work and dedication. And then I want to thank the community for working with me all these years. And I love Watsonville. This is a very bittersweet moment for me. I'm very sad to be moving on in one sense, but on the other hand, it is a new adventure and it's exciting. And I will definitely, you will have a friend at 701 Ocean Street. Thank you very much.
Good, good.
Thank you, Carlos. Moving on to the agenda, you'll see there's an item for the Climate Action Plan and establishment of the Carbon Fund program. That's going to be continued to the January 27th meeting so that we can focus tonight on the status update on the response to the recent violence. So let's move on with that report. Chief Solano.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Good evening, council members. Let me just first start off by saying thank you to our leader, Carlos Palacios. And I know I speak on not just behalf of myself, but the police department and other city employees to say it's truly been an honor to work for you. And we thank you for your leadership. It really wasn't us working for you, but you made it feel like we were working with you. So I think that's a true testament to your style of leadership. You've taught us a lot, and we will carry on in that tradition. We also support Marcela in her new role, so I just wanted to say that. Again, Manny Solano with the Police Department here tonight, joined by Parks and Community Services Director Ana Espinosa and Megan Joseph, Director of Community Organizing and United Way, also with Sarah Emmert of the United Way, both here to speak on the work of the Santa Cruz County Criminal Justice Council. You'll hear that report in a little bit. I also want to point out, as you noticed, a lot of our partners who carry out the work. Certainly, this is not a report, even though the pictures may show it. It's not all the work of the police department. It's a team effort tackling this issue. And it's not just because of last year's violence. This is something that's been in the works, as you will hear, for years, a plan of action that we hope to gain your support, the continued support to sustain some long-lasting results. So I just want to point out tonight we have in the room with us members of our Santa Cruz Regional 911 Center. Stephanie Zuby is here. And this is also just to make you aware, should you have some questions that might crop up, they could be able to help you with. We also have our Chief Probation Officer, Fernando Giraldo, that's here tonight, also a member of our Criminal Justice Council. Kenya Edison with the Pajaro Valley Unified School District. Mario Soule with the Gang Task Force is also here with his staff. My staff is also here, and many others tonight that you will hear from should you have some questions. Last week you heard a report on what we are doing as it relates to suppression and apprehension. Tonight you're going to hear many programs and services that we provide as a city, and albeit on a very limited budget with slim personnel, but we carry out some phenomenal work. And you're going to hear tonight about the strategic work that is taking place to address youth violence countywide. So first, before I start our report, I'd like to hand it over to Ana for her report.
Good evening, Mayor Bilicic, council members, and members of the public. The Parks and Community Services Department strives to serve as a key provider of recreational and community programs, special events, and facilities that make Watsonville an ideal place to live, work, and play. Our staff and volunteers work responsibly with limited resources to meet our mission areas that include promoting health and wellness, fostering human development, and strengthening safety and security for Watsonville residents. While we provide services to the general public, important focus areas for the department include prevention and intervention programs that engage youth and support families to improve and or maintain their well-being. These are programs that we believe contribute to preventing and reducing violence in our community. It is with great pleasure that I introduce you to the dedicated staff who carry out this work daily and who will be presenting tonight. Recreation Supervisor Christian Miranda will talk about Neighborhood Services Division and some of its programs. The division works to build partnerships, create pride, and foster leadership to create a strong and safe community. Our current neighborhood development program targets the downtown neighborhood. You will hear from Recreation Coordinator Marisol Jimenez Maciel, who will talk to you about the Contigo program, a program that provides early, progressive prevention and intervention strategies for youth and families, and that effectively engages parents and strengthens family bonding. And finally, Assistant Director Brad Blatchley will highlight some of the Recreation Division's existing after-school programs, recreational activities, and partnerships that provide a safe and enriching environment for youth to meet their social and recreational needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ana. Good evening, Mayor Bilicic and members of the City Council. Today I'll be giving an overview of our Neighborhood Services Division and the current operating programs. Before I begin, let me give you a little background of the program. The Neighborhood Services Division, a division of the Parks and Community Services Department, was established in 1998 with a grant from the David and Lucille Packard Foundation for the purpose of establishing a pilot outreach program in the Mona Lisa neighborhood. The goal at the time was to proactively identify and address neighborhood issues, establish priorities, and provide customer-friendly and accessible services that empower residents to create a healthier and safer neighborhood by locating to the target neighborhood. Neighborhood Services Division programs are designed to improve the quality of life in Watsonville neighborhoods. They are designed to encourage participation and collaboration, to reduce tolerance to crime, and provide education, information, and leadership training. These are the following 4 core components: neighborhood action, graffiti and litter abatement, focused neighborhood development, and referral and support. The Neighborhood Action Program is a core component of neighborhood services. This program is available to all City of Watsonville residents. Under this capacity, staff often facilitate meetings and workshops where residents can safely address issues of concern, receive focused neighborhood watch training, and develop leadership skills that encourage civic participation. There are over 40 neighborhood watch groups in the city. Many neighborhood watch groups participate in the annual National Night Out celebration, volunteer to clean up the Pajaro River levee on Coastal Cleanup Day, and have also become active members of the post-incident team, also known as PIT. PIT is a program organized in collaboration with the Neighborhood Services Division and the Watsonville Police Department, where a group of neighborhood volunteers can be called within 24-hour notice to respond to a neighborhood where a serious incident has occurred. Some examples of these incidents include shootings, stabbings, fires, etc. Volunteers visit the impacted neighborhood and distribute information about local resources such as counseling, social services, and important phone numbers where residents can call and report suspicious activity. In some cases, residents also provide volunteers with information about issues of concern like speeding cars, broken lights, any issues that the city can help address. This is also a perfect time and opportunity to distribute information about our local Neighborhood Watch program. Our volunteers are actually really good at encouraging proactivity and help encourage residents to form neighborhood watch groups. As part of the graffiti and litter abatement program, residents receive educational presentations by the Public Works and Utilities Department on environmental topics. In addition, residents participate in annual field trips to the city facilities to learn about services while enjoying the city's natural resources. Last year, Neighborhood Services helped coordinate 3 inland cleanup sites as part of the 2014 Coastal Cleanup Day. This was also in collaboration with the Public Works and Utilities Department, Save Our Shores, and Ecology Action. In addition, neighbors are also encouraged to contact neighborhood services where they can actually help organize graffiti cleanup days or neighborhood cleanups as well. In order to target neighborhood development, neighborhood services physically relocates to a targeted neighborhood for a period of approximately 4 years in order to provide targeted outreach and development, which therefore increases awareness, participation of residents living in that particular neighborhood. The goal is to work alongside residents to build relationships and trust, to identify and address neighborhood issues and concerns, prioritize concerns, create awareness, and access city services in order to promote a healthy and safe neighborhood. So far, Neighborhood Services has served 3 neighborhoods in this capacity, starting with the Mona Lisa neighborhood during the period of 1998 through 2002, River Park 2001 through 2007, and Carrie Davis in the Freedom area from 2008 to 2011. Presently, the division's most recent project and location involves the downtown area. This area is bordered by Union Street up to Brennan Street, wrapping around Callahan Park onto California Street, connecting to Lincoln Street, down towards Riverside Drive. Residents also know this as the Watsonville Plaza neighborhood. The division's referral and support strategy involves providing information and referrals regarding local community resources and services that residents may benefit from. In our line of work, we have come to realize that our strong connection with our neighborhoods are attributed to the continuous day-to-day contact and one-on-one relationship building that staff creates. The monthly neighborhood meetings, better known as Good Morning and Good Afternoon Watsonville Plaza Neighbors, are another way that staff connects residents to services available in the community. The staff coordinates with local human social services agencies in order to provide educational presentations to target area residents. At these meetings, our goals are to provide a safe environment for people to express and address issues that may be affecting them. In addition, Neighborhood Services collaborates with all city departments, Santa Cruz County agencies, and numerous human social service agencies in order to provide services that addresses the needs of the community. Some examples include the following activities: Neighborhood Watch, Post-Incident Team, Pathways to Success, Coastal Cleanup Day, Census 2000 and Census 2010, National and the annual National Night Out celebrations. In conclusion, I have more exciting news for Neighborhood Services to share. Back in October of 2014, the Contigo program was merged with Neighborhood Services Division. This decision came about when it was determined that both programs' goals and components complement each other, and both programs could combine in order to utilize their services in order to reach and provide a higher level of service and programs to our downtown neighborhoods. I would like to have our Recreation Coordinator, Marisol Jimenez Maciel, tell us more about this new exciting program.
Good evening, Mayor Bilicic and council members. As they've mentioned, my name is Marisol Jimenez Maciel, and I'm the Recreation Coordinator for the Contigo program. And tonight I'm gonna be sharing some information about our Contigo program with all of you and the people who are here tonight. And to start off, I'm gonna share a video of some interviews that we did with some of our participants so that you can hear directly from them some of their perspectives or the feelings that they have about the program and what they like about it.
Hi, my name is Sarai, and I like being in the program because they help me in math, and in my school, I have better grades, and also I have a special staff, and her name is Jasmine, and in Contigo they're cool, and I have friends I could hang out with, and I'm glad I've been in Contigo.
Hi, my name is Brianna Espinosa, and I'm going to tell you 3 things what I like about the program. The 3 things that I like about the program is that they help us learn, and they help us do our homework, and we have to read for 15 minutes, and we go to field trips, and we do our homework. And what I like about my case manager is that we get to draw, and she sometimes invites one of my friends to work with her too at the same time, and we get to draw, color, and we get to flash cards and play sometimes Candyland. And sometimes I like a lot of the program is that we get to read a bunch, so then we could get to learn much better in school, and we get to go a lot to the science workshop to field trip. To make some projects, and like sometimes color over there.
Hi, my name is Giovanni, and I'm from the Contigo program. The Contigo program has helped me get good grades at school and less detentions. Also, the Contigo program is cool because I get along with the staff. Also, the Contigo program is cool because they have a lot of guest speakers. They take us to a lot of field trips, and they help me with my homework in science, math, or language arts.
Hi, my name is Ashley. The Contigo program has helped me in getting good grades and having a better relationship with my teacher. 3 different things I like from the Contigo program are that they take me to places that I have never gone to. I get along with my friends, and I get along with staff. My case manager helps me in having a better relationship with my family and meeting new people.
They're so cute. The Contigo program started as a gang prevention and intervention program, and it was developed by the PCS department as a gang prevention and intervention program targeting youth living in the Marinovich Park area and neighborhood. The name of the program is significant because it illustrates the fundamental premise on which the program was built. Contigo in Spanish means with you. The Contigo program is not just a gang prevention and intervention program. It is a community and family building program. Contigo program was a piloted program initially funded through a CalGRIP grant in 2011. The targeted population for the Contigo program is 4th through 8th grade, students who live in the 8 square block area of the city containing the Marinovich Park area. Youth of this age and from this neighborhood were targeted because they are at an age in which they begin making decisions about engaging in gang-related activities or other negative behaviors. They also face many challenges, including poverty, unemployment of their parents, low education attainment, poor performance in school, and overcrowded and inadequate housing situations, just to name a few. In addition, the Marinovich Park neighborhood was selected because a significant amount of gang-related activity was occurring in the area. Some of the components, or there's 5 components to the program, and the first one is case management, which we now like to identify as family advocacy. Each participating family is assigned a family advocate. The advocate's first task with a family is to hold a family conference. During this conference, the family identifies the challenges faced and the steps to be taken to overcome these challenges. The action plan created during the family conference becomes the foundation of the relationship between the family advocate and the family itself. There is continued support for the families in ways that include, but are not limited, to meeting with teachers at schools and administrators to discuss the academic performance and behavior of the youth, visiting classrooms, and referring families to necessary resources according to their needs. The second component is an after-school program. Contigo youth participate in an after-school program twice per week for 3 hours each session. During the after-school program, youth receive healthy snacks and then spend about 60 minutes working on homework. After homework time, the youth participate in educational and recreational activities in safe environments, including physical activities, arts and crafts, skill building classes, field trips, presentations by community guest speakers, and health awareness workshops. During the summer, the after-school program takes place 4 days a week to provide youth with positive activities while school is out of session. Transportation from home and school for the after-school program is provided on needed basis. The third component is parenting workshops. Parent education workshops are provided to Contigo parents or guardians to increase their abilities to be positive role models, teach their children positive and healthy behaviors, and develop positive family communications and relationships. The workshops include topics such as gang prevention, home and school connectedness, and bullying prevention, and are all part of the Creciendo Familias Sanas parenting series that we've created. In addition to offering these workshops, the Marinovich neighborhood staff is offering these workshops at the PVUSD annual parent conference and at various migrant education parent meetings. There have been a total of 20 workshops that have been offered up to date. The Guiding Good Choices, or GGC as we know it, is an evidence-based parenting curriculum that consists of 5 two-hour workshops. This curriculum was developed for parents of youth ages 9 through 14 to provide them with a realistic approach to prevent drug and alcohol use, increase family bonding, and develop healthy benefits and communication skills. Clear standards and opportunities for the family to grow together. All Contigo families are required to participate in the GGC sessions, and they are offered 4 times a year at Marina Beach Park Community Center and are open to all residents. The other component is a Parent Leadership Committee, or PLC. The purpose of the PLC is to build neighborhood leadership capacity and self-efficiency. The committee that is made up of Contigo parents meets once per month to develop and implement 2 neighborhood-wide events per year and 2 meetings for the community, introducing the Creciendo Familias Sanas topics. The goal of the PLC is to create a greater sense of unity and responsibility for improving the quality of life within the Marina Beach neighborhood and Contigo families. And the last component that we have is we do a lot of family bonding activities. Family bonding activities are held to build and strengthen the relationships within the families. These activities include family game nights, recreational and educational trips, special events, and workshops. Family advocacy is offered for the family unit, not only for the individual. A highlight of each year is our summer overnight campout. And during these trips, activities are offered to build relationships within their families and amongst the families of the Contigo program. After participating in the Contigo program, families have learned to improve their communication skills with their kids and better understand the solve the challenges that they face on a daily basis. The tools shared with Contigo participants help strengthen the whole family and increase the likelihood they will thrive academically, emotionally, and physically, allowing them to make better choices and reduce the risk of engaging in game-related activities or negative behaviors. The Contigo program has served a total of 61 families up to date, currently serving 24 families and bringing in 6 new families this year to come to the full capacity of 30. The families will be brought up from a wait list of 14 that we currently hold, and the way to get on the waiting list is through an inquiry, or a lot of times we get referrals from schools or teachers of families that they feel they should be part of the program. We have found that by working with a specific neighborhood, residents are able to organize and learn community building skills that help them create a healthier and safer neighborhood as a whole. And by working with families versus individuals, we can help create change as a family and build a better support system for our youth so that they can be successful in staying away from the negative choices that they're faced with on a daily basis. Some of the achievements that we'd like to share with you is since the program began in 2011, we are pleased to announce that in the summer of this past year, 2014, 100% of our first 8th grade class met the graduation requirements to go on to freshman year in high school. And we have found that 68% of students have fewer unexcused absences, and 74% of our students have less suspension days that were reported. And I would like to conclude this presentation by sharing a quote from one of our parents. She shares with us, I am pleased and thankful of the positive changes the Contigo program has brought to our neighborhood and families. It has helped me by making the area a safer place we can enjoy with a stronger sense of community and stronger family ties. And as a mother, it has helped me become more active and hands-on with my family. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Brad Blatchley, and I'd like to share some of the programs that the Recreation Division offers to youth at its 5 recreation centers and 2 computer centers. The first center I'd like to recognize is the Gene Hilaris and Waldo Rodriguez Youth Center across the street on Union and Maple. They offer a free drop-in program there for youth ages 6 to 22. The program runs Monday through Friday from 3 to 8 p.m. and during the summer on Monday through Fridays from noon to 8 p.m. This is a free program for youth to come in and drop in as they please, and we offer a variety of activities, arts and crafts, sports, and games. One of our fee-based programs that's offered during the summer is the Get Out, Get Fit Camp. This is offered to youth ages 11 to 15, and the purpose is to get them out there exercising and also to provide them with information regarding diet and nutrition. The center also offers band nights and dances. We offer approximately 6 of them a year to middle and high school students. The center is also a summer lunch site, part of the summer lunch program that's administered by La Manzana Community Resources. This offers a free summer lunch to anyone who is under the age of 18. And actually, our neighborhood services staff are the folks that put that on. The center now has a band practice space for those youth who are in a band and are tired of their neighbors complaining that they're too loud. And we also are again going to offer a Styles dance class that was very popular last year, and it's a hip-hop dance class for youth 12 to 18. Other groups that use the center are Jóvenes Sanos, a program from United Way, and they're involved in having youth develop community health policy. We also host the Guitars Not Guns program, an alternative school basketball league, and Lynn Scott Charter School uses the center for its daily PE classes. The Ramsey Park Family Center has some more structured programming, the first of which is the Flyers After School program. This is open for youth in kindergarten through 5th grade. It's a daily program. We pick the students up at dismissal, school dismissal, and they remain with us until 6 p.m. until their parents can pick them up, during which time they get homework help, they get a healthy snack, and they participate in arts and crafts activities and sports and games. And this is a fee-based program at $60 a month. During the summer, we offer Camp WOW, summer camp for youth ages 5 to 12. It's broken up into 8 or 9 one-week sessions. Each session has its own theme, and all of the activities and the field trip for that week go to support that theme. Youth also get a chance to go to the Watsonville High School pool and swim in part of our aquatics program that I'll mention a little bit later. The site is also a free summer lunch site, and we do offer a spring day camp. It's basically a one-week version of Camp WOW during the summer, but during the school break during spring. And another group that uses the center is Ryder-affiliated farms. They offer Zumba classes to their employees, and they're free to their employees. They do bring their children. They provide childcare for the children, and they also, because we allow them to use the center, they have 20 spaces open for any Watsonville resident to participate in at no charge. Callahan Park Cultural Center at Sudden and Freedom Boulevard also offers a free drop-in program that is very similar to the one at the youth center. It's ages 6 to 18. It is also a summer lunch site, and it's also the home of our Itty Bitty Sports program for youth ages 3 to 5. Here we offer a variety of different sports in 4 one-week sessions, such as flag football, basketball, soccer, etc. And youth ages 3 to 5 get to learn a little bit about these sports, but more importantly, they get to learn how to have fun playing with one another. The site, or the park, also is a National Night Out site, part of the citywide National Night Out event. The National Night Out event features food and activities for the families and usually culminates at this site in a movie night. We have a youth sports program, youth soccer being probably the most popular. This program is primarily recreational is the emphasis. It's for youth ages 5 to 12, both boys and girls. The focus is on learning skills and sportsmanship, and again, and just having some fun. We do have 3 teams that are forming a competitive portion to this program. This is the program that is affiliated with Pumas, the team that competes in the Premier Mexican League. We have a gymnastics program that's for young children. It's kind of a beginning gymnastics program for ages 3 to 10 that does follow the U.S. gymnastics progression. And we do offer summer tennis camps taught by a instructor who's a veteran United States Professional Tennis Association instructor. We have two computer centers. The one's across the street at 231 Union Street, and the other one is inside the Marinovich Computer Center, or Community Center, excuse me. The computer centers are open to anyone in the public, Monday through Friday, 3 to 6. There's a nominal membership fee of $5 a month, $20 a year, or $25 a year for families. Other programs that we offer, worth noting, is the Summer Youth Employment Program that, thanks to the hard work of the City Council last year, we were able to offer employment to 8 youth as recreation leaders. They worked with us. They went through the training that all of our rec leaders go through, including getting CPR certified, and they worked with us in the summer lunch program. They worked in the camps, at all of the centers, and they also were the ones responsible for collecting survey data from participants at the Strawberry Festival, and then they also helped us crunch those numbers that we presented late last year. Our summer aquatics program is held annually at Watsonville High School. It's composed of swim lessons from infants through adults, and also there is a free open swim portion for that program. And finally, we offer the Cesar Chavez Community Awards each year in order to honor, it originally started to honor youth who, through their work in the community, reflect the values espoused by Cesar Chavez of volunteerism, being active in the community, and nonviolent conflict resolution. And last year we expanded that, and we recognized adults in the community who also exemplify that. And finally, there are 2 groups, dance groups, that use the Veterans Memorial Building twice a week for their practice sessions. So I'd like to close with just, again, sharing our vision that we are a key provider of high-quality recreational and community programs, special events, and facilities that make Watsonville an ideal place to live, work, and play. And to reach this vision, we have identified some mission areas that we work on. The top 5, or the first 5 there, we think are most relevant to the issues we're facing in the community around violence. And that concludes, I'll just leave some highlights of the Recreation Division and, well, actually, of the Parks and Community Services Department for you to look at. And we're happy to take any questions at any time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I also want to point out, too, that Christian mentioned the post-incident team that also Councilwoman Cervantes went out with. They're actually out right now in the Marchant Street area neighborhood, so we thank them for their service. I also want to mention that this weekend we will be we've called the local faith leaders together. We will be hosting a brunch for representatives of the leadership of all the various churches in our area, places of faith and worship, and they will be coming together to join in unison to try to assist us with this particular issue. That will be this Saturday, January 17th, 8:30. It begins. It'll conclude at 11 here in the community room, and we are receiving a very good response from that. So I wanted to point that out. You can toggle. Last week, you had asked what kind of resources exist for families, for you, for anybody for that matter, that wants to learn more about gangs. Why do youth join gangs? What are the resources? Well, thanks to the County Office of Education, they compiled a very comprehensive website. And there's a webpage here you can go to. It has a number of videos. The BASTA Collaborative, of which we have a member here tonight that's available to speak, Yolanda Perez Logan, who's here from the probation department, sits on our South County team. So in case you have any questions later, she can come up and answer a lot of the phenomenal work this team is doing. One key part that this team plays is that they have members that are specially trained to do the intervention work, especially for really hardcore kids that it's really hard to talk to, but that we know are just one day away from either being arrested for a serious crime or, unfortunately, falling victim to crime. So they do some important work. I really strongly encourage you and the community to go to this website at the bottom of the page and visit the hard work that was put into it, and I think you'll be very impressed. I'm going to kind of cut down my talk a little bit and just kind of lay the list out here of all those things that you asked. What are we doing? What partnerships exist? This is not an exhaustive list, but it's a good idea of a lot of things that are going on. A lot of key representatives in this room are members of these collaboratives that we are a part of. Measure G supports our successful Caminos Road to Success program. It's a diversion program that we do. It serves to give early offenders and their families an opportunity to avoid the criminal justice system while learning from their mistakes and receiving consequences. Very important, they receive immediate consequences. The Adelante program, it's a prevention program. It's designed to reduce gang activity through gang prevention and suppression activities. Its prevention component is administered by the PVPSA. That's our dedicated prevention agency by providing the at-risk youth and their families with case management. They also receive a number of other various technical services. Charlie Wilkins, a clinical supervisor at the Pajaro Valley Prevention and Student Assistance, is also here tonight later on should you have any questions. And then lastly, a really important and a successful program that we really want to continue, we've been putting it on and we've received very good feedback, is a program called Unidos Salimos Adelante. It's the Together We Can Get Ahead. It's a collaboration with the school district. Joanne Borbola, I believe, is here tonight. She also carries that out with Lieutenant Jorge Zamora from our department. And the mission is a workshop series to bridge the gaps between school, home, and the community. Themes of these workshops include building trust with the police, citizens' rights, immigration topics, personal community safety, gang awareness, and drug and alcohol awareness. I know you know a lot about our PAL program. It's a program that's been in existence for many years. We serve over 450 local youth by providing 185 pro-social activities and events that challenge their skills and develop their character. That translates to over 1,400 hours of activities. Again, fortunate for us to have Measure G. We were able to supply funding and continue the funding for one full-time PAL coordinator who oversees the many, many activities that you're going to hear about. Our very successful cadet program continues. It's been in existence for well over 30 years now. Known statewide, I will have you know, as a model program, as a mentor program, but also to just teach those various things that youth need to know as it relates to their civic duty and leadership. PAL also offers basketball, thanks to, I want to point out, Officer Rudy Lopez, who gives of his own time, not only to coach our local PAL team, but also coaches at the high school level and is doing very well. So I want to point out and thank Rudy for the great work he's doing. Our mentoring program, PAL also affords a mentor program for ages 11 to 14. The program will provide middle school youth with peer-to-peer mentoring. The mentees will complete a monthly meeting. They have community projects that they do, and they just have a lot of fun doing it, and our officers volunteer their time as well as many other in the community to support that. A great program. Kickboxing is another thing PAL offers. Not only does it offer self-defense, but it also affords anybody that wants to come into our center on Rodriguez Street an opportunity to do a variety of sports, this being one of them. The Aztecas, I know you've probably heard of this. If you haven't, it's internationally known thanks to Gina Castaneda with our probation department. It was started in 2008. It connects at-risk youth with meaningful soccer. And it's incredible to see these youth, many from rival gangs, meet on the field as a team. And she's doing some phenomenal work. And our officers join with them annually to always get beat by them because they're so good. And then also our Watsonville Youth Council, thanks to Councilman Eduardo Montesino. We want to continue this relationship we have with them. You know, we don't have all the answers, and neither do all the adults, so we need to include the youth. This is a great way for them to serve in the capacity as a council. You're going to hear their work and their voices being heard and being part of this action plan in a moment. That's my quick report. Now let me hand it over to Megan Joseph.
So good evening, Mayor Bilicic, council, and community members. Thanks so much for having us here, and Manny for the invitation to present with you. So I'm the Director of Community Organizing at the United Way of Santa Cruz County, and I'll let Sarah introduce herself.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members and community. Sarah Emmert with United Way. I'm coordinating the county-wide Youth Violence Prevention Task Force. As I mentioned last week, I was raised in Watsonville. I moved here when I was 1 from Freedom Boulevard. Much of my heart lies in the community, and I, along with others in the room, are committed to helping to create a safe and thriving community in Watsonville.
Thanks, Sarah. So I wanted to acknowledge the efforts of all of the folks really quickly who have been part of this task force before I go into explaining it. And it's been such a pleasure to work with them and many of you because we are all committed to the same thing, as Sarah mentioned, a safe and thriving community. And we want to acknowledge the tragedies that have happened here and that we stand with you in compassion and empathy for the tragic losses that are here today, and also with you in the fact that we know we need both immediate solutions and long-term solutions. And so I want to invite all of those folks who have been a part of the task force, either through key informant interviews, because we called you and asked you to sit down with us for an hour, or through a focus group, or through being part of the steering committee or a work group. So if you are on the task force or been a part of it in any way, please stand. So thank you again to all of you who have given so much of your time and attention to this. So what is this task force that we're talking about? We were asked to come together almost 3 years ago now because there wasn't a concerted, unified effort to address youth violence in the community. But there were a lot of different conversations happening about it. So we worked with probation, with BASTA, and with the newly formed Criminal Justice Council to bring the community together around this issue. And we held the original Youth Violence Prevention Summit about 3 years ago, bringing everyone from law enforcement to students to former gang members and everyone in between together to just start talking about the issue. And what was really apparent to us after that summit was that we did need a concerted and unified effort to bring all of those different conversations together. So that truly is what started this effort. And since then, we've held a conference, we've held various other community summits bringing over hundreds of people together, and we've done a year of community assessment and a year of strategic planning. From all of those efforts, this mission statement is what we developed, which is an equitable and united county where all youth are engaged in family, school, and community. All youth have a sense of safety and well-being. All youth feel they have a voice and are empowered to use it, and where all youth are able to access opportunities for successful transition into adulthood. As the Youth Violence Prevention Task Force, we focus on the Office of Juvenile Justice Delinquency Prevention recommendation, but also what we heard Contigo and others say, which is this 10 years old or 4th grade, where a lot of these challenges start to arise, all the way through age 24. Those are the critical ages that we found, and we've broken that up into youth and young adults because the strategies for those areas and age groups are significantly different. So as I mentioned, we started in December of 2013 with a year of community assessment. We've provided you with a couple of different packets. One is an executive summary and the full data report of our community assessment. So we brought together the community to say, what are the things that we want to better understand about how youth violence is showing up in the community? So that report provides you with over 60 indicators that are related to youth violence for the first ever snapshot. And you'll see that a lot of those indicators are broken up by geography. So you can get a snapshot of what's happening here as well. We've then started a year-long process with, again, hundreds of community members to develop the strategic plan. So we've had over 200 people participate in the actual planning process, rolling up their sleeves with us to start creating this plan. Some of our key partners that we want to thank that have been part of the core process team are probation, Applied Survey Research, and United Way, as well as the entire Criminal Justice Council. Our goal and the sort of deadline that's upon us is March 19th when we'll present our final plan to the Criminal Justice Council for approval. So we are just a couple of months away from having that final plan. Here's a snapshot of how the task force is formed. We are under the Criminal Justice Council formally. We have a steering committee that's made up of both Criminal Justice Council representatives as well as community members and community-based organizations. So it's a very broad based steering committee. Under that, we've got the entire task force that comes together about quarterly. And then we've got 3 focus areas. One is ensuring supported and functioning families, fostering safe and vibrant neighborhoods, and promoting positive child and youth development. Here's our steering committee. This committee is chaired by your own Officer George Zamora. And we've got representation from all across the county on this steering committee. And they come together monthly to help decide what priorities we need to approve the progress that we're making and to help direct and guide us.
So we realized that not everyone in the community can participate in our work group meetings. We are committed to engaging in voices that aren't typically heard, those with lived experience, those living in North County, living in South County. And so we went out into the community and met folks where they are. We conducted focus groups, family focus groups. PVUSD helped host focus groups in English and in Spanish, with parents that are, their children are addressing issues with truancy, school discipline, migrant education families as well. Probation helped us conduct some focus groups as well with families, both in English and Spanish, where parents have youth who are system involved. We knew we had to go to the youth and hear their voices for the strategic planning process. You know, why do youth participate in violence? What opportunities do they see in the community? What are challenges for youth in the community? So we went up to Juvenile Hall and did focus groups at Juvenile Hall. We went to the Watsonville Evening Center, conducted focus groups with youth there. We came down to Watsonville, did focus groups with Youth Now youth. With Muevalo, Friday Night Live, and then we also did focus groups with Santa Cruz High Youth. We saw themes from these focus groups, from everything ranging from challenges of poverty and employment, parents not feeling like they had support networks, to themes of, you know, in education, issues of equity, and then also lots of hope in regards to how we can create solutions for our community. We wanted to engage with stakeholders and interview key stakeholders in our community. We conducted over 60 key informant interviews, which is a lot. You know, everything from top decision makers in the county to those in the trenches doing direct services, representing business, community-based organizations, education, government, and justice. We are working to put the qualitative interview gathered from this immense amount of community knowledge into something that's accessible and useful to all stakeholders. Currently, it's in a 35-page kind of raw information packet. So we're really going to work on making that to where it's user accessible, and we're happy to share it with the council as well as the community as soon as it's ready for anyone that's interested in it. As Megan mentioned, you know, we've engaged with over 200 people through this strategic planning process. And many of them have been through the work groups. As you see from this list, we have engaged diverse sectors, so community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, concerned community members, youth. We've engaged with folks in education, health, government, justice. We wanted to have representation from various levels of decision makers in our community participating in this work group process. It's been really collaborative. We wanted a plan that came directly from the community with community input. Intentionally with our work group meetings, we made them mid-county so that folks from North County and SLV can come, as well as those from Watsonville. And we made them after school hours so that youth were able to participate in them as well. Many of those that have participated, as you saw in the work groups, are here tonight.
So we're excited to be able to share with you where we are in the strategic planning process to date. So in order to come up with these results that we're about to go over, we followed a process called results-based accountability. And that was to bring the community together under a shared set of goals so that it wasn't scattered, but yet we looked at the data, we looked at what's happening in our community as far as community assessment and the qualitative data, and we're able to say, yes, this is what's happening, this is what we need to address, and collectively, here's how we're going to do that. We also used national resources that you're probably familiar with, the National Forum on Youth Violence, which also informed the San Jose Mayor's Gang Initiative, was one resource we used. We also used the Office of Juvenile Justice Delinquency Prevention, Blueprints, CDC, and so many of the other amazing resources that are out there to inform the plan. So what you see here are the set of results in each focus area that we are working toward. So the first one is that the community is safe. Underneath that, you see examples of some of the indicators that we'll use to measure our success in that result area. And our strategies will then be informed by those indicators, and we'll work to both leverage what's already happening here and then address the gaps. So the second result is that the community is culturally and racially aware and responsive. We know that cultural unity, as Neighborhood Services pointed out, is such an incredibly important piece of youth violence prevention and really a community thriving. All community members and stakeholders are engaged to create a safe and thriving community. So looking at things like duplication versus alignment of efforts, making sure that we're coordinating efforts among jurisdictions and agencies and stakeholders, and that there's good communication across stakeholders. In the work group focus area promoting positive child and youth development, we have 5 results. The first is youth are life, college, and career ready. So looking at things like truancy, suspensions and expulsions, graduation rate, and youth in the labor force. Youth are supported by caring adults, so making sure that they have that meaningful relationship both in school and in the community. That the community provides equitable opportunities for youth. Do all youth have access to the amazing programs that are here? Do they have transportation? Is there enough access to those programs for all youth? Youth are valued and have meaningful participation in their community. That's that piece of youth having a voice and being empowered to use it. How often, for example, do middle school or high school age children engage in activities after school? Students who have a high level of opportunities for meaningful participation. Many of these indicators are chosen from our community assessment project that's in year 20 now, or from the CHICS survey that's done every year in all of the schools with all students. The 5th one is youth are safe and feel safe in school. We know that school climate and school safety is a big issue that all schools are looking at right now and is a key component to youth going to school, being engaged in school, not feeling like they have to have a weapon with them for self-defense, making sure that there's a safe route to school, all of those kinds of issues. And the third focus area is ensuring supported and functioning families. So as we heard from Anna and her team, we know that families is a critical component, and we can't address violence without addressing the family. The results that we want in this area are that all families and family members are valued. We have community assessment project questions that already ask this of families, such as how have you felt discriminated against in Santa Cruz County in the last 12 months? How would you rate your level of agreement with the statement, I know how to make a positive change in my community? The second is that families are connected and engaged. So do they feel supported? Do they feel like they can help each other with peer support? Do they have access to the services they need? Do they regularly volunteer in the community and feel engaged and connected and invested in the community? The third result is that all families have social emotional well-being. This includes how often do you feel that you have someone you can turn to? How have any family members or friends in your experience experienced domestic violence or intimate partner violence in the last year, as examples? And the fourth result we'd like is that all families are equitably supported by the community. So again, looking at who has access to services and who doesn't, and making sure that we can give everyone equitable access to what they need, such as employment, ethnicity gaps for families in poverty. And a question in our CAP report, for example, in any given month, did you find yourself going without basic needs? Who's answering that question more often yes than no, and who has their basic needs met, or the kinds of things we're looking at? So we are right now, literally this week and next, starting to hone in on the strategies that we'll be recommending in the plan. So how do we get to those results that we just talked about? These are the ways that we are going to choose strategies. So one is that we know we need to address the full spectrum of prevention, intervention, and suppression strategies. We need things that address the immediate need of squashing the violence that's on the streets right now, today and tomorrow, and we know that we need to address the root causes of that violence, or that change won't be sustainable. And we all want this effort to last long beyond when we're here. It will be based on data. So both identified local needs through the data, and then also evidence-based practices that we know can address those needs. But we also want to leverage what is already here and working. We heard about Contigo tonight and other programs that we know is already here and working. How can we scale those to make sure that they're reaching enough of the clients and students and young people that they need to? How do we spread those services that are working across the county to other jurisdictions? And then integrate recommendations of those with lived experience, meaning the youth and those that are working with youth and families that are on the ground that say, this is what's worked, I've seen it, and how can we leverage that experience? Once we know what's working, we have already started to see also what the gaps are, what's missing. Why aren't we solving this issue right now with what we have? There's obviously something we don't have that's missing. And then being able to identify the regional and the national best practices that have been identified to address those specific gaps in a way that's appropriate for our local community. So even though we are selecting those strategies this month, we know that some priorities have risen to the top throughout this 2-year planning process. And what's important for us, for you to hear, is that it's very similar to what has come out of the community meetings that have been happening right here in Watsonville in the last few weeks. So we've been talking in those community meetings about street outreach, and that has also come up throughout our key informant interviews, throughout our focus groups, and throughout this planning process, is that conflict mediation on the streets and really building relationships is key, and it's missing. And so that's here as a top priority. Youth employment is also a huge gap in our community. It's down by nearly 25% over the last 5 years, and we know we need to address that. Gang prevention through programs like Contigo is another focus area that we know we need more of, and intervention activities. Youth access to pro-social activities. So it may not be that there's not enough of them, but youth can't access them for whatever reason. So looking at those reasons, whether it's transportation, money, wait lists, things like that. Safe spaces for youth to go after school and when there is free time. The youth center is a great example, and can we serve more students that way? Strategies to address weapon access and reduce weapons arrests. Safe routes to schools. We've heard from parents and teachers alike that one of the biggest reasons a youth isn't engaged in school every day, and there's truancy, is because there isn't a safe route to school. And that's actually one of the biggest ways that they become involved in risky behavior, is whoever they are in contact with on their way to school or on their way out. Trauma-informed care, we know, is rising to the top. Many of our schools are using trauma-informed care. Law enforcement can use trauma-informed care. We know that our justice system is starting to look at it, so that's something that we want to make sure we're supporting. Law enforcement, youth and community relationships, that's key. Making sure that youth feel safe and comfortable coming to law enforcement, and the community feels safe and comfortable working with law enforcement, and vice versa, that there's a greater mutual understanding of shared goals. Mentoring, both peer-to-peer and adult role models. School disciplinary practices, so looking at best practices around suspension, expulsion, and alternatives to those practices. Resources for families and access to relevant services. And then lastly, culturally responsive and appropriate services and programming. So even though we don't have a draft plan to show you tonight, these are rising to the top as top priorities and are very much aligned with the conversations that are happening in the community, which we'll hear more about in just a moment. So lastly, implementation. We're moving very quickly in the Youth Violence Prevention Task Force to implementation, and we would really like to leverage this broad and extensive community effort that has already been happening on the ground to respond to the needs specifically in Watsonville. So we have the Youth Violence Prevention Task Force Steering Committee, which has countywide representation, and we're proposing that we, for implementation, create two arms. A North County implementation initiative that looks at the specific needs of North County, and then a Watsonville implementation initiative, such as a mayor's implementation initiative, that includes seats at the table for city, for law enforcement, for youth, schools, BASTA, Peace and Unity Coalition, faith community, service providers, businesses, all of those people that have a role to play in addressing this issue in a very broad-based, holistic manner. That array of people at the table also mirrors some of those other best practice initiatives that we see across the country, San Jose being one of them. And many of the strategies that we just talked about are also recommended by those initiatives. So we feel like it makes sense to just extend and actually focus our effort on the specific needs of Watsonville, but leveraging and really aligning with the work that's already been done. We are thinking of it as an offering, a gift of let's start not at ground zero, but at ground 25 with the work that's already been done and be able to just hit the ground running. So with that, I want to invite a few people up just for 1 minute each to talk about how the local conversations are aligning with this effort. So first I'll invite Maria Elena with the Community Action Board to speak on this issue.
Thank you, Megan and Sarah, and thank you, City Council, Mayor, and City Council. Just very quickly, we met with Sarah and Megan, Alan, and Aaron, and I met with her on Monday to begin the conversation of alignment. I am one, as you know, I am one of 35 community members who came together as a community action response to violence at the end of December. People came together, youth and parents and business and government and faith-based leaders and service providers, concerned citizens, nonprofit folks, all came together as a response to talk, to focus on solutions, to see what's missing. We know that planning for a solution is critical. We know that this will provide us infrastructure to make a difference in the community. At our community discussion, we identified clusters that included employment, parent and families, youth intervention, street reach, prevention services that included the schools and Quereres Poder and the YWCA. We talked about suppression, PD was there, and the government's role. Again, we came together to have a discussion not knowing and not in alignment with the planning that the United Way has done. And so now we are looking at having discussions on how to align our community voice with the infrastructure that is being created. And I feel very hopeful because it's very promising to us. We're meeting on January 22nd at 6 p.m. at the church at 15 Madison Street to continue our discussions where we ask the clusters of those areas to come back with some action steps. And we'll be discussing how do we support this plan. We know the plan exists, and we know that the implementation piece, this last square here, is about community action, and that's us. And so we're committed. You have us. The gift is the plan. Well, the gift is community action. We're here for you. And we're committed to make a difference in the community. I would like to call Aaron to come on and up and Alan to come on up. I know at public comment there'll be other people speaking from the 29th.
Good evening. I would like to say that with the Community Action Board and through Alcance, I've been involved in locally focused tactics to prevent or intervene with youth violence. Those include the participation in the South County BOSTA meetings, being involved in the post-incident team and attending to our community by walking the streets, and also participating in the BOSTA intervention group, or in the BOSTA intervention teams within the last couple of years. And Alcance and CAB is committed to doing those locally focused efforts, but I also believe that it's essential for us to align, having also been part of the steering committee with the Youth Violence Prevention Task Force, that these larger efforts have been critical in terms of looking at data and research and looking at what works. And I feel that it's really critical for us to align at this time with a larger effort while also implementing locally targeted tactics that fit under the strategic plan that is forthcoming. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Alan Hicks from the co-chair of the Peace and Unity Coalition. I just want to say that we're the part, I think that's been a missing part, that community come together, that there's been apathy and indifference. Because what I see is when the community doesn't have any way to express itself, they like put on blinders because it's too frustratingly painful to really think about. So we're trying to provide a vehicle that community can come out. We had a forum last year of 500 people at EA Hall School. We want to do that again this year. One of the things we're talking about doing some neighborhood events. There's no reason. We want to collaborate as much as possible, so we're trying to promote and bring community to all the prevention resources that are available. In particular, we worked really well. I want to thank Parks and Recreation. They were really helpful on when we had the march last November. So we would like to collaborate on a neighborhood event. So I had an initial discussion with Israel Terrado, and so we think we're going to move forward with that and have some discussions. So we just want to promote the services that are out there and bring the community out and allow them to participate in dealing with this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. So just in closing, we want to offer the Youth Violence Prevention Task Force and what's been established already as far as relationships and the work that's gone into it as an umbrella, as a coordinating umbrella that all of these other efforts can hang from and can hang together within, and that we can both shepherd implementation of the plan that's coming out and then respond to new areas of interest and need as they emerge here in the city of Watsonville. So we can offer and leverage existing resources, the staff support that we already have on board, the coordinating efforts that we already have underway to the city of Watsonville.
Thank you very much, Megan. And that will conclude our presentation.
Thank you. So, members of the council, do we have questions? Councilmember Garcia.
It's wonderful to hear about all the work that's being done in Watsonville through our neighborhood services and now through United Way, being able to now also connect to the community. But what was missing for me, although it was mentioned, that street outreach for intervention and mediation is missing. Okay, that's a big deal. And I wanted to share that at our last meeting, last Wednesday, one of the members in the audience was Nane from Barrios Unidos, and he gave all of us a handout called Peace in the Hood. And basically what this is are strategies or programs that are working in Seattle because of violence. And amongst many things, there was two things that were mentioned that I'd like you to take under consideration. One was in terms of the street outreach intervention and mediation. One of the things that they do is they actually have street patrols, and they go out to where the gangs are, and they actually bring opposing members of the gangs together to mediate, to have discussions, to create peace. And I know that works because when I was assistant principal at Watsonville High School, there was an intervention specialist, and I've forgotten which nonprofit he worked for, but he was given space at Salud para la Gente, and what he would do is he would bring the leaders from the norteños and the leaders from the sureños, and he would bring them together to mediate, to discuss, and to create peace. And for the 2 years that I was assistant principal at Watsonville, there was limited conflict between those two gang members. So that's something that really needs to be looked at. The other thing was, as presented by our community members, the need for community engagement empowerment. And what they're doing there is they're actually training community members. They're providing resources to community members, and the members are actually doing public safety out in the community. But that takes money to do that. And I know last time I asked about how Measure G monies could be accessed by the community, and basically was told, no, can't be done because that money has already been targeted. So I'm wondering, in what you have already targeted in Measure G, because all that you're talking about is going to cost money, are you able to incorporate some of these types of strategies so that they could be funded through Measure G?
No, I believe the answer last week was put out very clearly that this is for police and fire activities that have already been identified, have already been approved by council, I might add. And however, it's not going to limit us from looking at other alternatives, other grants, as Councilman Dutra wants us to look at. We're looking already for those grants. We will not leave out the priority, as you heard. It's included in the plan. As you read, the outreach is right on the top of the list. It's already being talked about at the meetings, at our community outreach. We read you loud and clear. But in terms of Measure G, yes, I think the answer is no at this point. It was identified already, and I think at this point we'll just continue to look for some sort of funding to sustain it. And that will be part of the plan as well.
So then, if I'm hearing you then, because it was already identified as a priority, that street outreach, which is missing right now for intervention and mediation, you have already begun to look for grants to pay for this type of strategy?
The police department, I can speak, is always looking for grants, and I'll have Megan also talk about that.
United Way is always looking for grants also. So we've got the Criminal Justice Council, and we have support of the staff from the Criminal Justice Council, as well as staff for the Youth Violence Prevention Task Force. We're grant funded right now. So we'll be seeking further grant funding from our current grantors for this project, as well as once a plan is in place, that's much more attractive to grantors, to funders. And so we'll be extensively reaching out to those grants that fit this well once we have the plan in place, which is just months away. In the meantime, the community is very much focused on the street outreach and youth employment and some of those other key factors that we know that are missing. And so there's other efforts happening and conversations happening as we speak with key community partners that can put those pieces into action before we even have a draft plan out. So those pieces are moving, and we're seeking funding to support that.
Thank you, Councilmember Kaufman-Gomez.
Would it be possible, I know that United Way is very prominent when in terms of the service that people can contribute to, even through payroll service. Is it possible that those that are contributing to United Way opt for funding to go towards this that would be available from United Way back to the community for this purpose?
Yes, so you can opt to write in the Youth Violence Prevention Task Force as where you would like your money to go. Yeah.
Thank you.
Other members of the council? Councilmember Vice Mayor Hernandez.
I kind of want to go back over here to the final part of the presentation of Contigo program, some of the numbers that you had mentioned. Could you repeat those one more time? Yes.
So we have served 61 families, translated into over 300 individuals since they're a family component. And 100% of our first 8th grade class of Contigo Youth met the requirements for the high school to go on to high school. Did you want all the highlights? Or just
No,
for Contigo?
that and also when you followed some of the youth, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Well, it says,
Sure. So the other one was,
towards the end.
yes. Sorry, let me go through that. 68% of students have fewer unexcused absences, or they've been reported, and 74% less suspension days were reported as well for our participants with the Contigo program.
Thank you. I think, you know, those are the kind of results that we all like to hear, and I think that we should be looking at expanding into these kind of programs into all of our schools in the Pajaro Valley Unified School District. I'm sure that you guys probably get more people, you guys get ID'd more people that should be on this program that you guys probably can't handle the whole caseload. But, you know, those, I mean, that's where we gotta, that's an important thing. We gotta find funding for these kind of programs. Same thing with like youth jobs. We gotta find funding for those. That's always the question, the funding. You know, youth violence, I mean, I remember before we used to have a lot of things that were going on. You know, we had Mike Chavez was here and Ganas, Gang Alternatives, North and South. You know, I walked into some of those meetings and I was amazed at the people that they had there at those meetings. But it is true, we do also need to focus on the street teams, but it's just funding's hard and finding the person that can do that because they have to be able to relate with in-risk youth, you know. They're not at risk, they're in risk already. And we need to find those key people that can actually do that kind of work. But my question is, you know, do we have that funding for that type of stuff? I mean, because I know that funding just kind of, there's always different funders that give money during certain times, and sometimes there's just no money for certain things. Is there funding for this type of stuff? Yes, I guess United Way, actually.
Yeah, no, at this
For
point,
nonprofits.
there isn't. However, again, it'll be part of the plan to look at all various stakeholders. We're not going to leave out the possibility of, you know, corporate donations. I mean, there's all kinds of things we can certainly look at, which will be part of the plan.
And to date, we haven't been able to go after some of the funding sources because we haven't had a united plan that really shows a comprehensive approach. And really, that's what a funder wants right now. They want a collaborative, comprehensive approach that shows that you've engaged stakeholders, they're ready to go. And so we feel confident that now that we'll have that, we can go seek some of those funding sources that we haven't been able to in the past.
Okay.
Councilmember Dutra.
Since we're on the topic of grants, do you, the United Way and the police department work for the same, do you guys go for the same grants?
No, at this point, you know, sometimes we will partner up with other agencies. It's not uncommon to do that if the grant, you know, could involve that. But at this point, no.
Right. I've seen over the past maybe 4 years, we've received about almost $4 million in grants. And I'm looking at the list. I've looked at the list, and it's pretty much the same grant money coming in from the same you know, organizations. However, I don't see some local organizations that are also involved with giving grant money out, like HIDA or NICRIC. Do we work with them, and have we been successful? I don't see them on the list, so I just want to know our capacity with them.
Yeah, so what he's talking about is a lot of Homeland Security Agency grants and other various organizations that will support. Now with HIDA, for instance, that's a lot of times equipment that we sometimes will get from them. So yeah, that saves us money. A lot of times There's other types of opportunities through these state Homeland Security grants, helmets, bulletproof vests. Those are the type of things that can, yes, help our budget because we're able to get it through a grant. We have an annual grant. On that list we gave you, in fact, you've seen some of the safety equipment I'm talking about. We're happy to provide all council. In fact, we provided you with a list, hopefully answering a lot of your questions from last council meeting the best we can. So if you have any more questions regarding those specific grants, let us know. We'll be happy to explain.
Yeah,
what
I
they
mean,
are.
I think the more money it would be better for not only police officers, especially since they're on a rise of being murdered, up 56% since last year. So I think that this is also helpful not only to the community, but also to the officers themselves. It's just, to me, really important to have somebody competent in obtaining grants, and also to put money towards programs, to your programs that will, you know, whether they reach out to the parents, we can create, you know, add more extensions to what I find important, which is reaching out to parents. The parents are very important with their kids. And I've listened to other people before, and mothers are especially important. So if we can reach out to, you know, get some special funding so we can, you know, create more services for our families, then I think that we can start, you know, dealing with the problem through a more familial way, and which is important because there's only so much we can do as a community. You know, the family is a very important part, but if we need to, funding is important so we can have people to start, you know, reaching out to families. So that's where I'm coming from, is that it's I think it's really important to have somebody on their top of the game in getting funding so that we can become a stronger community for everybody, you know, whether it starts from the family to a police officer.
Well, again, I had our grant writer who is definitely on top of her game, Lola Maldonado, in fact, who's here. Can I ask you for clarification, because we do take notes and we will get back to you. In terms of NCRIC, can you tell us what in your mind it is you want us to work on there?
Well, I know that they've given out grants before that you can use, you know, towards whether you need to create certain programs or if you want to create buildings. They give out grant money, and it's also an organization that's local, that deals with local, you know, Northern California, you know, grants, and also, you know, training for people that are going to be going out for the tasks of gang-related issues. So if we're having an issue in our community, then it seems like it would seem like an obvious solution to you know, work with them in some capacity, whether it's getting money or, you know, training for our officers.
Okay, well, you know, my understanding of NCRIC is it's more of an intelligence gathering. I could have our gang commander come up and speak to whatever he knows of NCRIC if you'd like. He's here tonight.
Right.
And NCRIC is the Northern California Regional Information Center, and it's more of an intel-based collaborative that we do participate with. We provide them with our data, with our information that's going on. We're in constant communication with them. As far as HIDA, the high-intensity drug trafficking area, we are part of the Northern California HIDA through the association with SEACT. It's a multi-agency task force. Because of that, we're partners with HIDA. This past year, due to our relationship with HIDA, we've secured $50,000 in reimbursed overtime money that came back to our local agencies that they paid for operations that we conducted in dealing with drug traffickers and whatnot.
I didn't see HIDA on here, so that's why when I asked that question, I didn't see that you guys had already obtained a grant from HIDA. But am I wrong in saying that both organizations do have grants that they provide to the communities?
They don't have, well, I guess it depends on what your term of grant is. They have funding that is available through the HIDA initiatives, and that's what we have access to, and that's what we apply for. So it's kind of operational based. It's not a yearly thing where they say they're going to give you a certain amount of money, just based on the operations that you conduct and how it applies to their initiative.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to come in on sort of the other resources that with aligning with the Youth Violence Prevention Task Force, we bring to the table. The Criminal Justice Council voted the task force as the #1 priority this year, and their staff is committed to writing grant proposals as they become available. So we have that as a resource, as well as United Way, providing our resources and trying to use our connections to get grants, as well as all of the myriad of people involved in the task force. So we've been having that conversation at the steering committee level of how do we all participate in helping to align existing resources behind what we know works, this plan, and the strategies that are being recommended, and then also how do we leverage what's existing here to bring in more resources. So that conversation is happening on multiple levels.
Right, and as Councilmember Hernandez said, funding is important so we can get a lot of these issues and subjects addressed because it takes funds. I have one more question. It goes to Parks and Rec. If people want to become involved with, I noticed with the, you guys have your neighborhood action program, graffiti issues. How would one contact you? Do you just have one group? Do you work with council districts? How does that work?
I'll share some information, then I'll allow Recreation Supervisor Miranda to follow up. We work with the council if they have particular residents that contact them. They refer them to us directly. Part of our outreach is letting the community know of what is available. So residents can call us directly, and they call our Neighborhood Services Division. And we provide information about the various areas that they can get involved, such as the Neighborhood Watch programs, what's involved, and also the commitment. For example, for Neighborhood Watch program, does require that we have a certain number of residents in a neighborhood that are willing to work together and go through that program to establish it in their neighborhood. And we're willing to support them as well as the police department in their success in achieving that.
If I can just add, Mayor, there's ongoing community input to all the programs and activities that were described to us through the Parks and Recs Commission. Each one of us has an appointee on that Parks and Recs Commission, and everything they do comes to us, and we, in an advisory capacity, give input. And as a result, we go back to our own communities, our own neighborhoods, to share that information that's coming and invite others. And so, for example, as a result, just in my neighborhood, we have a very, very strong neighborhood watch. And it was through neighborhood services that neighborhood watch was established. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Just to follow up to that question, although our neighborhood development program is based on that targeted neighborhood, we are still continuing to work with the entire city of Watsonville. Like we said, we do have over 40 neighborhood watch groups in town, and that has been attributed because we do continue to work with the entire city. And like Anna said, usually the contact happens pretty personal. They usually contact neighborhood services. They let us know, I want more information about neighborhood watch. We either set up a phone conference or they come into the office and they talk to us. They give us an idea what they're dealing with, what are the concerning issues. And based on that, we try to set up a meeting with them, find out, what is the commitment from the community. Have you talked to your neighbors? Are they willing to meet? Do they want to meet at a recreation center? Do they want to meet in your neighborhood? They give us all that information, and based on that, then we pretty much get the ball rolling, set up a date for their first introduction, for instance, Neighborhood Watch. We do all the contact with the police department, and we try to make sure that we have an officer at all of their neighborhood watch meetings as well. We provide the presentations, and then police also provides information in addition to that as well.
Great.
We also need to have public comment here shortly, so council, let's have a couple more comments and then we'll get out to the public. Councilmember Cervantes.
Sure, just very briefly, I just wanted to throw my support behind this plan that's taken a number of years to develop. It's very comprehensive, very thorough, demonstrates the many possibilities of collaboration across organizations, individuals, and I want to especially, highlight the opportunity for including our faith leaders. I know this is evidence-based, and this is an area where we can also be groundbreaking in terms of how we measure the outcomes in involving our faith leaders, as well as Barrios Unidos, which also integrates a lot of spirituality into their outreach efforts and their intervention efforts. So I think it's important, you know, all of this work has been done extensively. You know, I appreciate all of the work of the many partners that are here in the room. So definitely starting from ground 25, I feel very confident that we can leverage as many resources as possible. There's a lot of conversation around funding. You know, a lot of the times these grants require matching donations, meeting that. So it's important that we figure out who in the community is doing it, can provide a little bit, and we can match it up with some more. So I think that's really important. So let's move forward.
Any other comments?
I have two there quick. Christian, would you be able to provide each council who the neighborhood contact is within their districts? Because I don't know who is doing neighborhood watch in my district, but I believe that we do have that program, and I don't know who to contact. So that would be beneficial for that to be reciprocated. And then Manny, I know that we've stepped up the pace with regarding the foot patrol, the police that are out there, and making sure that we've had a very strong presence of we are here. What kind of feedback response have you been getting with some of the gangs that you've approached about letting them know that you are making a much heavier presence to protect the community?
Sorry. They certainly know we're out there. We're doing a lot of contacts. And I got to really, you know, again, I just want to really compliment all the staff that are out there that are carrying out the very hard, very dangerous suppression work. I think it says something, and I hope you noticed that last week and tonight, hopefully, there weren't a lot of complaints coming about in regards to misconduct or accusations. So it's a real credit, and I've told my officers in roll calls, continue your work. I know it's hard. I know it's dangerous, but they've had a lot of contacts, a lot of encounters, and at this point, we're just keeping up that pressure as much as possible so we can carry out what you just heard.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, yes, we do have that information. We can compile it for you guys.
Thank
That
you.
would be good. Thank you. Other comments? Councilmember Hurst.
Thank you. Just another pitch for Nixle. If you see something, say something. If everyone had this card and everyone could use the anonymous tip line, there would be a lot less activity and perhaps some better coordination between neighbors, community service organizations, schools, clergy. We need to bring this together. We need to coordinate this effort. And this is a wonderful way to still remain anonymous, but to express your concerns and give some tips that will provide some valuable leads to prevention as well as suppression. So don't forget your Nixle cards, and I hope we have a stack of them out here.
Thank you very much, Councilman. I also want to point out, and I did have someone approach me before the meeting to say, well, what about us that don't have computers or smartphones? And to that I say, we have our phone, our landline. It's a 768 number. It's 768-3544, 768-3544. They can call that at any time. It's confidential. Leave your message. We check it in the mornings, so they can leave tips that way as well.
Hopefully we'll have that on our website so that people can access that.
Yes. Yes.
Have computers.
Yes.
Okay, council.
Because if you
Anybody
can't
else?
hear me, they won't call in.
I just want to commend everybody for their reports tonight. I think this has been great. A lot of information being shared. A lot of things happening for youth. And I also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Palo Valley Unified School District, because they have a lot of after-school programs. They've done a lot with the suspensions and reductions, and maybe they'll speak later when we have public input, but it takes everybody. And, you know, all the gang violence has obviously very much affected the school district too. And I think with that, we'll open it up to the public. So if you would like to address us, please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Ismael Valdivia. I spoke last week about the knee.
2 minutes for each person. Thank
I spoke
you.
about the knee last week for the street outreach. So I came back this week just to see what kind of prevention measures were already in place, what kind of programs you guys had. And there's a lot of good things, but I'm still in full support of a street outreach. Felipe Hernandez mentioned Mike Chavez. I knew Mike Chavez personally. He was a real street interventionist. He was a counselor at Watsonville community. He used to have an Impala, like a 6'5" Impala. He used to pick us up. A lot of gang members, he'd pick us up off the streets, take us for cruises. He took me and a couple of my friends to Big Sur on a camping trip. He was a really good dude, rest in peace. And I think he made a real big impact on a lot of people growing up. So we need more people like Mike Chavez in the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Reverend Florentino Cordova from the First Christian Church Disciples of Christ. I'm here to say that I too am looking for funds to help with this effort. So I'm looking for grants within my own disciples denominations to help with this. I'm asking what events do we have? I didn't hear very many events between Friday and Sunday at a time when the kids really needed the most. Also, I'm in the process of opening up a warming center for the homeless, and so I'm doing this in a twofold approach. I was part of the strategic plan to end homelessness. The individual that got killed, Moises, I want to thank the community for coming out and supporting us on Sunday. But he too was homeless, and so that too might have been a all-in approach. So the strategic plan to end homelessness as well as youth violence prevention. I'm one that brings where's the faith component in this, and I'm also one that brings where's the LGBT component, the lesbian, gay, bisexual component of the community as well. So I will be continuing to be involved in these strategic plans, and I will always ask those questions when they're missing. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Hello, City Council, Mayor. I was here last week as well and just mentioning things about jobs, but I also heard last week a little bit about gang injunctions, and that kind of triggered me. I know that gang injunctions are a civil rights issue in some courts, so I really want to take that into consideration. And also, I know that gang injunctions can really affect the law enforcement and community bond that has been built, and so it would be a really big concern for me if we really go down that path to really look into it very well. But I also wanted to take this time to come by and again reinforce that through the Community Action Board and the Alcance program for which I work, we offer jobs, and we are working alongside with the task force and with the police department in providing those services to youth that need it. Also, right behind me is the person that works directly with the participants, so I wanted to make sure that she was here so you can see the face of who is doing this work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Monse Martin, and I'm from the Community Action Board of Santa Cruz County and Alcance, and I'm the case manager for the Sueños program. I'm here because I see a huge problem in our community, which involves youth violence increasing and youth employment decreasing. I'm here to show that there's a tremendous potential for employment opportunities for youth to be obtained through the Sueños program. And I'm a firm believer that change can be brought upon those youth that are being involved with violence through the path of employment. And I will be leaving my information in the back for any additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Erin Nelson Serrano with the Community Action Board, Alcance. And from last week's council meeting, I left with some concerns about the response in the community, an intervention response, or suppression, I should say, related to gang injunctions. And I appreciate the council's questions about resources and the appropriate implementation of resources, and I'm concerned that gang injunctions are very expensive. They're very costly in terms of manpower and really are not sustainable. And additionally, I'm also concerned that if you target particular neighborhoods or buildings, that displaces gang activity to other areas of our community. And what we really need is an immediate response to violence and then also a long-term plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Juan Gomez, and I just recently came back to the area, and I was sitting here and listening to everybody, and I'm concerned because one of the main things that I didn't see there was nothing around organizing, nothing around healing. I'm concerned because we're talking about Measure G, which is a 1% tax tax. There's people dying, and we can't get no one to flex muscle on squeezing some of that money to help out our community. And that's 1% of a city budget. I imagine if we looked at how much goes to police and fire in general of the city budget, it's probably a good chunk of it, right? So we need to start thinking from the very top, how are we allocating budget? So as our representatives, put a little bit of pressure on you. Another thing that all of the things that were said up here is really putting the blame on youth and families. There's nothing to be saying, what is the system doing? We're talking about programs and services when there has to be policy and systems change. There's disparity across the board, and no one's talking about, and it's okay to do all these services. They're really good because we need them. But if we're not careful, there's going to be a charity model in place, and we're not doing nothing to address the impact, only the intention. So, we should be more careful on the National Forum on Youth Violence. It's a joke. Look at Salinas. They're for 3 years in a row, youth homicide rate is #1 across. So I'm very concerned if that's the template that we're using. So I just, like I said, I don't want to say much more because, I don't know the whole things, but I do want to think that we need to address the root causes instead of sometimes these generic plans, right? There needs to be some money in the game to support stuff that really actually works, and just beefing up more police, obviously it didn't work, right? So thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments.
Alan Hicks from Peace and Unity Coalition. I want to thank Juan Gomez. I always appreciate people who ask tough questions. I know he's doing some really good work in Salinas. So I'm glad he's coming to the table to dialogue. I did wanted to add one point on the intervention piece. That is being developed and worked on with Barrios Unidos, Community Action Board, and Peace and Unity Coalition is supporting it. And we do have individuals identified, Danny Contreras, who's kind of been working on his own. We want to start giving support and financial support to it and some structure to it to know it's being done safely and effectively. The young man that spoke with Aaron earlier, Ismael, has volunteered to do that work. I'm sure there's more out there. So on a dollar basis, I would say that's probably one of the most effective things we could do. Because I don't think it would cost a lot of money to have that program, and it's one of the pieces that just hasn't been done. It's directly down in the trenches, confronting it on the street. And I think that's one of the most important things we can do. And again, one of the most financially, more bang for your buck. So the Peace and Unity Coalition strongly supports that, and we think we'll find funding for it, and we think it'll happen. So I hope you all support it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Buenas noches a todos. Mi nombre es María Teresa Rodríguez. Soy la fundadora de la organización Querer es Poder. La misión que tenemos es organizar y fortalecer familias. Deseamos empezar con el programa de arte como prevención e intervención a las familias. Tenemos support groups para ayudar a las familias emocionalmente y mediante la música. Tenemos también el programa de los abuelos que ayudan a los niños con sus tareas. Estamos localizados en Las Lomas. Sé que Las Lomas pertenece a Monterrey County, pero nuestras familias vienen de Santa Cruz County. No podemos rechazarlos. No les podemos decir no porque vives en Watsonville. Por eso estamos aquí para solicitar su apoyo. Muchas gracias.
Thank you for your comments, and we will wait for translation, please.
Good evening. I am Maria Teresa Rodriguez, founder of the organization Willing is Power. Our mission is to organize and to strengthen families. We would like to start with our arts program as a program for intervention and prevention for families. We also have support groups for families to help them emotionally and through music. We also have a program for grandparents that help children with their school homework. We are located in Las Lomas, and I am aware that Las Lomas belongs to Monterey County, but our families also come from Santa Cruz County. We cannot reject them. We cannot tell them no because you live in Watsonville. And that's why we're here to request your support. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Joanne Borboya, and I'm a counselor at Watsonville High School, and I'm also a board member for the Police Activities League. I just wanted to make an announcement tonight regarding an upcoming workshop on safety in the community. I spoke with Chief Solano and Lieutenant Zamora and the Watsonville High Administration regarding this workshop presentation. So the presentation will cover the following: school and campus safety, recent updates from the Watsonville Police Department on violence in the community, personal and community safety, and registering and accessing the NIXL system. So we'll be providing a step-by-step process on how to do that. The workshop will be facilitated in Spanish with English translation, and all materials will be bilingual. Police officers will be in plain clothes. Watsonville High will be doing recruitment and community outreach. And in fact, this evening, the post-incident team with Officer Rodriguez is handing out flyers for this upcoming workshop regarding the community safety in the neighborhood where the recent incident occurred. So the workshop is scheduled for Monday, January 26th at Watsonville High School from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And I do have flyers available, and this will be distributed between now and then. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and community. My name is Nancy Falstick, and I'm an early childhood educator and a volunteer community organizer. What I've seen in my work is that hurt people hurt people. I'm glad that Juan spoke before me because I want to build on what he said. In order to break cycles of violence, we need to create societies that support all people. I want to encourage everyone here to come back in 2 weeks or later to hear about the Climate Action Plan, because social justice issues and environmental issues are one and the same. Climate change is already affecting and will continue to disproportionately impact the low-income communities and communities of color. The damage to our world from man-made climate change is showing clearly what's wrong with how our societies are structured, where profit is put before people. Climate change increases stress on individuals and communities, and stress leads to more violence. I want to invite people here that are interested to join a local email list that I keep. I'm just a concerned community member, to send news updates about climate change and hear about local events that are going on. And the youth component that I'm working with currently is I'm planning a contest to create digital presentations on climate change that will become available to anybody in the community to show to different groups, and I'm seeking support and donations for that project. I think that climate change now, with as horrific as it potentially is, can actually be the motivator for us to set things right for everyone.
Thank you for your comments.
Hello, Mayor.
Hi.
Bilicic and council members. My name is Dee Dee Vargas, and I am the chair for Measure G. There's a few different things that I'm hoping to discuss. First, I think we've got to recognize that the gentleman that came up and spoke, that I have given my phone number to so I can help him understand Measure G better, his feelings are real. And that has to be validated. There is a level of frustration that is definitely understood because of the climate in which we have seen things occur here in Watsonville. I wish I could stand here before you and say there is a silver bullet approach that can be taken, that I could take a pill and have abs of steel. Measure G is not that. But I am going to say funding is not that either. Some of what needs to happen is at a basic community level. Just like the people that sit on my committee, John Martinelli, Bill Hansen, Gary Manfrey, we spent, coming up soon here, 2 years sitting, doing research and working on this together. And I'm going to tell you it was service, and we're still doing it as service. And some of these things, folks, these are community problems we're having. That, you know what, we don't need funding for. We just need to do our part, whatever that is. We all have different strengths we bring to the table. I'm not one that's going to go out and probably talk to the gang members. Not a strength I probably possess. But there are people in our community, like Danny Cervantes, that has that strength. Why is it we're always looking for the government to pay for something that we should be doing as a community? Does it not take a village to raise a child? Did we forget some of those concepts that are so very basic? This isn't their problem. This is all of our problem. Police and fire, there's only so much they're going to be able to do to help us with health and safety. And then we all have to step up and do our part. I'm here tonight for free. I've worked on this committee for free. I'm going to continue on for another 2 years with all of my other committee members that are hardworking, successful people in this community, and they're doing it for free. Now, if there's a big wonder in what our money pays for and where Measure G goes, I'm going to encourage you all go to the city's website. There is the Measure G icon in the upper right-hand corner. Hover on it, click it, and you can see the resolution. You can see all the documents as to what that Measure G money is earmarked for. We gave our word to your constituents when they voted 2/3 majority vote for that Measure G to go through. We're not going to deviate.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it.
Evening, Council. My name is Raymond Cancino. I'm the CEO for Community Bridges. I'd like to just mention that we are part of this task force and we really stand behind this. I feel like some of the questions came on as trying to find a funding out of this. There is no funding out of this. It's about investment. It's about whatever little bit of investment you have as a council to make priorities. This priority is about prevention. It's not about after the fact. It's not about after policing. It's about really getting at the head of it. It's about addressing it with people that are, as Felipe said, I think is right on, as people in risk. And I think there's programs that you have invested as at risk, and some of the programs were highlighted today. So again, I just want you to urge you to look at every single vote you make about community programs, about your general services contracts for police and fire. Those are all decisions. You're making priorities for our community. And one of the priorities that has happened recently are of these latest murders. And so it's really about looking, what are we going to do next, and how is this framework going to inform us of how to really invest our dollar? And I really urge you to take a little bit of closer look once the final report comes out. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Are we supposed to put air? Good evening. My name is Ruby Vasquez, and I am born and raised here in Watsonville. I've been teaching in the Power Valley Unified School District for over 20 years. And I'm consider myself a pretty involved and informed community member. And so there's a lot of things that came up during tonight. But one thing I do want to leave with you all is the flyer that's promoting our upcoming informational session at the Mellow. The Youth Task Force brought James Bell to the Rio not too long ago, and I had the honor of hearing him. And the main thing that struck me was, I'm, as a professional and an English speaker, I hear this information that has helped me form and understand why things happen. And anyhow, we're going to bring him to speak at the Mellow. He will be speaking in doing his presentation in English, but we are providing childcare and we're providing Spanish translation because we want our community, and I know we do represent a portion of the community, but there's a huge other portion who's not even here tonight and who usually aren't, you know, maybe they don't find that they are invited because a lot of times we have sessions, whether they're at the district level or at the city level or at the community level, that aren't accessible to them in their language. So instead of being like an afterthought, whenever we offer these sessions, even the document that's going to come out, I hope it is in Spanish, so that people can get the information. But I also want to, those community members who are here tonight, I also want you to help us fill the Mellow. I want you to, like the woman just said, let's do our part to get the information out. I think what Councilwoman Cervantes and Luis Alejo did, going door to door to inform community members about the Nexile, was important. That's the type of stuff we need to be doing. I also wanted to just really quickly put out there the program of Cultura Cura. It's a program by Jerry Teo. I think that's something we should look into as a community to see how we can do things a little differently, go a little deeper. Parks and Recs does a great job, but how can we go deeper than the recreational kind of surface type of stuff? How do we go deeper with our community? And then the other thing I wanted to mention was, I'm just going to put a plug out there for Grupo Latino Genesis, who's been providing folklorico dance classes for over 50 students for over the last 20 years. And they can no longer, they're looking for another place. I think you know that. They're looking for another place because they can no longer use their dance shoes in that space. And so I just, you know, if we want to promote and help those things that are going on, just something as simple as letting them use their dance shoes in that space would be really helpful. Otherwise, they're going to go elsewhere to look, you know, for a space. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Well, I'm gonna try to be brief. I was told not to speak here, but I'm gonna speak anyway. This is this gentleman back here. He inspired me to speak just by what he was saying. And then we had a gentleman that came up here, one of the first guys that came up here. Councilmember Hernandez, Councilmember Garcia is on the right track. This stuff that we're seeing here is nice. It's a fluff, but I guarantee you, you're not going to get a gang member, a Norteño, Sereno, a Blood, whoever you want to go dancing. They're not going to put on their dancing shoes and go down to the local deal and go dancing. If you want to stop the shooting and the pissing contest back and forth, you're going to have to get people, like that gentleman said right there, because Salinas ain't doing their job. I heard these people here talking about something that San Jose has got going over there. San Jose ain't got shit up there. They just had 4 shootings up there in a nightclub. I know people from San Jose, there's shootings every day, so they're not doing nothing right. Oakland's not doing nothing right. LA's not doing nothing right. You got to get down to the people who are down there and figure out what's going on, what are their gripes between each other, and try to work it out, or you're not going to stop the killing. This kind of stuff is good for the youngsters to have something for them to do. You want to have something for the kids to do, keep them occupied, their families are working, you know, that kind of stuff, that's great. If you want to stop the killings and the shootings and all this other stuff, this ain't going to do it. Like I said, I wasn't supposed to speak here. I was warned not to, not by anybody here, but my family member. But I had to because of that gentleman right there and one of the first people that spoke. You're going in the wrong direction if you don't concentrate, like Councilmember Garcia said and Councilmember Hernandez said. And that gentleman right there, and the other one that spoke. You got to get down to grassroots. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening. My name is Kenya Edison. I'm the Director of Student Services for Pajaro Valley Unified School District. I am a steering committee member for the Youth Violence Prevention Task Force, as well as other committees in this community, because I live here and I work here. I'm going to speak in support of the Youth Violence Prevention Task Force. Respectfully, I disagree with what was just said, because the Youth Violence Prevention Task Force is not about services and programs. It's about policies and practices. So it's about getting everyone on the same page in the same book about what policies and practices are implemented when youth are involved. So I strongly agree, and with the support of my superintendent, Dorma Baker. She also allows me to serve in this capacity, so she also is in support of doing what's in the best interest of kids, not just with programs, but with practices and policies. Just touching base on a couple of things with the Youth Violence Prevention Task Force, we are a dedicated bunch. We are approaching going on 3 years of meetings, okay? So that is definitely dedication. It is intense collaboration. It's not meeting just to say we see each other. It is meeting to accomplish a common goal. We are doing intense research and outreach for families, because those are the recipients of every practice and policy within this community or this city. We are working interagency and intersector. That is the difference. We're doing a lot of work that if a youth is arrested, then they're receiving supports in the community, they're getting supports in the schools, because we're all communicating. Families are being treated as a unit. We're not isolating them and expecting kids to improve on their own with unplugging them from their support base. The driving force for this plan, this isn't a program, for the plan is healthy, safe, successful youth, families, and communities. Who can't agree with that? We can't do it all going different directions, so it's important that we all have a common goal, a common interest, and a common plan. It is exceptional, the things that come out of these meetings. Just seeing the presentation, and I've been a part of it since the beginning, so I'm excited about that. I myself, as a district representative, we are being intentional. Things aren't just happening, we're being intentional. We're following this plan because our kids thread through every agency and every department within the city. We have over 20,000 students in our schools, that's K through 12, and we're responsible for every last one of them. We understand they leave our schools and they live in this community, which is why we work so closely with all of our collaborating partners, Watsonville PD, probation, the courts, the DA, public defenders, health and human services, PVPSA, children's mental health, youth services, CAB, PAL, COE. We do a lot. We even collaborated with the city Parks and Recs for our Attendance Awareness Month. So
if you could conclude your remarks.
Well, I recommend that you all please support this plan. This plan is about results. Results is about change. We are committed to the success of every kid in this community, and you should be too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Kimberly Firm, Executive Director of Pajaro Valley Shelter Services, and I'm here on behalf of our organization, who also serves people who are former gang members, who have been victims of domestic violence. And while I have not been on the task force for this, our agency has represented on other strategic plan for the strategic plan to prevent and end homelessness. This strategic plan is to prevent and end gang violence and youth violence. So it is totally in alignment with the work that we're doing in a larger community fashion. Not all of us can sit around all tables. So on behalf of all of us who are sitting around different tables, we are being action-oriented, providing services, and I just really am grateful that we'll have this strategic plan that we can leverage with the homeless strategic plan and so on, and see how that really blossoms into continuing to make community change, action, and impact. So thank you very much for supporting this.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Fernando Geraldo. I'm the the Chief of Probation, chair of a number of other things as well. It's a pleasure to be here for you, and I appreciate all the comments. It's a variety of comments, and I have to say I agree with most of the points. I am here because we have been a part of the task force. We've stood and stand behind the task force since the beginning. I was an important part of that, and I thank Chief Manny Solano for asking me to get that going, and fortunate to include the United Way and Applied Survey Research and our great coordinator that we have here, Sam Emmert. Sarah Emery, excuse me. One thing, and I want to live to see this, is that one day that we will have no child in our juvenile hall. If you go to our juvenile hall, on any given day, you'll see 20 youth. 18 of those youth will probably be Latino youth, and probably half of them will be from this city of Watsonville. So there is so much work to do at the beginning, at the grassroots level, from birth and all the way on through. This plan that we're designing has been inclusive of folks at multiple levels of the community, from the folks from the grassroots, former gang members, all the way to the city officials, law enforcement, people like myself. So I just want to say that we stand behind the Youth Violence Task Force and the prevention plan, and I, as Council Member Cervantes said, I think it would be a good idea to start at the 25th floor. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jesus Carreño, and I am a student at Watsonville High. And I want to say that probably the only reason why there's a lot of violence in our community is because, well, a lot of youth join gangs because they have problems with their families, or maybe they don't feel good enough in the community or in school, and they want to fit in, and maybe that's why they join the gangs. And yeah, and probably if we make like programs for the youth that will make them feel good or get them out of their problems, we could like make a change in our community, like Muévelo, with like we could help youth not join gangs and take different paths. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
I'm Brad Blatchley, speaking as a community member. There's an irony in this country. We enact legislation and policy that oppresses people for the benefit of a few, and then we enact legislation to fund programs to help those people cope with the oppression. And I know there's people in this room who, on both sides of this podium, who know that part of the work, and much of the work, the real work, is the courageous work of ending that oppression.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, we'll go back to council for any concluding remarks. Councilmember Hurst.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, we did mention the book this evening. Ms. Edison talked about the book. Well, here's a book that I think that everybody should get some reading material out of. Blood in the Fields by Ms. Julia Reynolds. It doesn't have the answers to it, but it does explain some of the issues and the problems that we experience in the community, and some of the root causes. And this is what we need to get to, is understanding some of the root causes so that we can engage the community and we can dig deep, as was said, and we can start to solve problems community-based wise, and rather than try and catch up afterward. So take a look at this when you think about a book.
Other council comments?
I commend everybody for coming together and coming up with a plan here. I know it's not a permanent solution. It's not a solution for fix-all for all of the spectrum of the issues and the matters that we have here. But if we can capture as much of it as we can and be able to ripple that effect into some of the outliers that we have, then that's a plan that we can work with together collaboratively as a community. And thank you for your effort and the research on that, because it's really important to know where we need to begin. And you have some very good plans and models that I believe we'll be able to implement successfully here in our community.
Any other comments?
Yes, again, thank you for everyone for spending their evening with us, having these very difficult conversations. And I just want to highlight the plan. It is a comprehensive plan. Again, it's just a framework to guide our work. All of us have a role in implementation of this plan. So it isn't all just up to the city. It isn't just up to our service provider partners, but it really is a framework to guide our work, and all of us can tap into it in some way with our talents, our expertise, our knowledge. I also just wanted to highlight again, some of the presentation that was made, parks and recreation, parks and neighborhood services. There is a lot of community engagement within that. I think recreation is important. Our residents ask for fun activities for our young people, adults to be involved in. But also in thinking about the PIT team and the leadership that develops there, one of the key points made in the plan was the necessity for more trauma-informed interventions. And I think this is one. I mean, we need to build it up more with volunteers, with that expertise, but you are talking to community members that have seen unimaginable things. When we were going door to door, I met some of the women who saw some of the victims of the more recent crimes. So it is really important to have someone at least to describe what it is that they saw. And so I do think that there is a lot of opportunity to build and further expand our neighborhood services programs. And so, there's a lot that they do. It isn't just recreation, but it's a lot of prevention, and it's also a lot of community development in terms of building up our neighborhood leaders to go out and advocate for themselves, for their neighbors, and to continue to ask and advocate for additional resources so that we can have stronger communities and neighborhoods. And again, this plan, it's evidence-based. It'll take us to what works. So everyone's mentioned, there's limited resources, and so we need to be very smart about where we invest those resources. I think the other piece that I want to add, when some people sort of talk about, beefing up our police and fire, it's important. Residents are asking for police and fire. But you also have to look at our budget, and it does speak to our values, that there is a commitment towards neighborhood services, that there is that commitment to not just public safety being more police and fire, but public safety also including opportunities for our neighbors to be more involved, our youth to be more involved. And so there is a lot of commitment to also beefing up our parks and neighborhood services as well.
Councilmember Garcia.
This is actually a question for clarification. It was mentioned last Wednesday, and it was mentioned in the presentation, the Mayor's Implementation Initiative. What is that?
Chief?
The idea being that, first of all, let me just point out, there's 3 representatives from the city of Watsonville that sit on the overall Criminal Justice Council, that being the city manager, myself, the sitting chief, as well as the council member. Now, last council member was Councilman Daniel Dodge. However, to carry this through beyond my tenure, beyond our mayor's position, we need to have that continuity. So we looked at, as you heard, even from the early beginnings, the San Jose mayor's model. This is not the exact same thing. However, it's very close to that. And the reason why you do that, and the reason why San Jose did it, and it's continued on, and in talking with them, we've done site visits, and it's strongly encouraged that as we move forward with this action plan, that in order to maintain that continuity, we have that council involvement to the extent that the mayor's involvement, and call it, again, it's an example of mayor's implementation initiative, mayor's initiative on violence, be named that, so that it continues to have council involvement, council direction, and council participation.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Councilmember Dutra.
I want to say thank you for everybody for coming out. No matter where you stand on the issue and all the ideas coming out means that you care, the community cares. And not everyone's going to agree upon how to approach a subject. There's going to be differences. But the fact that people are out here tonight trying to solve the problem really says something. And it makes me very proud of our community. I was born and raised here. I know how great this community is. And you all want the best community possible. I want to thank, lately I've seen the police out in force, and I appreciate that. You know, it makes me feel safe, and they're doing the best job that they can, and I appreciate them. You know, it's gonna take all of us working together. And whether it's, starting with Rebecca's idea, getting people, out on the ground that know how to speak the language, then that's where we need to start. Or whether it's getting programs for kids, so we can start getting them at an early age involved with activities so that they can, whether it's dance or playing ball or arts, getting them involved at a young age and continuing that throughout their lives, so that they don't detour. So there's a lot of different levels that we're addressing here, and I know this is only touching a few, but whether it's we're trying to address a child or a teenager or an adult on the situation, it's going to take us to make a difference. And again, I just appreciate every single one of you coming out and doing this, and it's the first step. And I really believe in our community, and I think we're going to be able to stand united and to really prevail at the end. And we're going to have kids that are going to feel safe in their community, and we are going to have a community where the deaths will stop. So we just got to work together, and no matter who you are, where you stand on any issue, whether what your political beliefs are, this is going to, it's everything. Like Dee Dee Vargas says, it takes a village. It's going to take every single one of us to step up and really help out the community. So I thank every single one of you for stepping up. Thank you.
Other comments? Go ahead.
Really briefly, I do want to encourage people to actually, read some of the books that Lowell showed us, The Blood in the Fields, and that Rebecca Garcia mentioned, the Peace in the Hood. To be an informed person about these issues, right? I know that they have them here at the Crossroads Shopping Center, so you can buy them locally. And I really want to say I do encourage this plan. I'm looking forward to, moving on this plan as well, working together with everybody. Ruby had mentioned Jerry Tello, and I remember reading some of his programs, and I was really impressed with some of that work that was going on. I think that would be something that would be a positive thing in the community here as well. And I look forward to, seeing things like that. Thank you.
Any last comments from you, Chief Solano?
No, I think I said enough. Thank you.
And I too want to thank everyone for being here, participating. I think we can make a difference, and I appreciate all of the support. There's a lot of people that came tonight to hear about this issue, and that says a lot about our community. So I'll thank you, and we'll move on to the next topic. So item 9.2, written reports from the city council members regarding conference attendance. Does anyone want to speak about that? Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez, Council Member Cervantes went to the League of Cities September 3rd through the 5th. Do you have any comments?
I had a really great time. I attended some of the workshops that I wanted to attend was veterans housing, and also the skate park design and bringing skate parks into the community. So it was really good because we got to we're actually working on some of the things right now based on that conference. So very worthwhile.
Thank you.
Two highlights for me. I'm part of the Latino caucus for the League of Cities here in the state of California. And so our session, each caucus is allowed the opportunity to sponsor a session during the annual conference, and ours focused on exactly some of the issues we've discussed today, which was disproportionate minority confinement, and again, partnerships throughout the state that are helping to address some of the issues related with that. And one of the other sessions had to do with the underrepresentation of women in local government. And what does that look like? And so I'm happy to say that we do have a majority council of women. So that's amazing. We're bucking the trend.
Thank you. Requests and scheduling for any future agenda items? Anybody have anything they'd like to add? We do have a long list already, but feel free to add things if you'd like. Not at this time. Any emergency items to be added? No? Okay, and then there are written reports. The report of disbursements are included in the packet. And with that, we will adjourn. Thank you.